will repeat this again as we go through this, just to make sure we're all on the same page. The original purpose of that particular discussion item was to discuss technical and other issues that have to do with administrative issues that have to do with the senior property tax relief. So what I'd like to do is to break this into two sections. Go ahead and let staff come up and give us their report on what it is that where we're at as far as getting tax bills out and the mechanics of it. And then we will go to part two, which would be to bring in comments on the on any changes that any citizens would recommend that they would like to speak upon. So that is what I am proposing. And I'll repeat that again as we get to it, just to make sure that in case somebody comes in late. The other thing is, when citizens want to come up to speak and to address the commission, either in public comments or discussion items, please kind of queue up here so I can see who is going to be speaking. When you come up to the podium, make sure the green light is on, state your name, and then address your comments to the commission, and then we can have the discussion go on. Before we get to that, we may well have some background information put out there, but that's kind of the way I see it unfolding. Also, if you can make your comments, I don't want to cut off anybody, but there are a lot of people here, and I want to make sure we have time for everybody to have to say their piece on this. So please be mindful that a number of citizens are probably going to want to speak. With that, change, and I think I can go ahead and just, I don't know if I have to have a separate vote for an amendment. I think we're okay with just going with it like that.
I'll just say so moved.
All right, there we go. Commissioner Withington, did you have any comments? Your light is on.
No, I got something for staff once they start talking. Right now, I'm good.
Very good, thank you, sir. With that, then, we have the agenda as amended, and you have the motion, so you're recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagner?
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson?
Yes.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Commissioner Whittington?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Very good. That brings us to public comments. Are there any members of the public? Now, in public comments, we don't get to interact as much. Is there anyone here who has another issue that they would like to comment on to the commission or express an opinion other than the property tax issue, which we will kind of bundle together so we can hear everything at once? Seeing none. That brings us to our discussion item, our first one, the Senior Real Estate Property Tax Relief Program Update Administration. We will do part one now, which is more of the technical administrative part of it. When that is concluded, then we can start bringing folks into the discussion on the other part of that. So, Mr. Administrator?
Yes. So tonight we'll have an update on our property tax, senior real estate property tax. Have Dieta Jacobs, who is our administrative director. Part of it is to come back to you guys. We talked earlier about distribution of our tax bills, and we had to separate the senior property tax items from the original ones that were sent out, mainly because of technical issues with our providers. So we wanted to give an update as to where we are currently with that as far as distribution of those bills. And then from there, also give an update that was requested about a timeline that was given regarding where we are and how we got to this point.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Dieta Jacobs, Administrative Services Director. Good evening. This is not the presentation I would like to be giving you, but I think it's exceptionally necessary. So the latest update on Senior Real Estate Property Tax Relief Program. We currently have 17,114 applications that are approved and are awaiting their tax bills. The numbers changed a little bit since the last report in October because some of the parcels had multi-structures on them with different addresses, and we had some parcels that were split right down the middle, and we had two parcels to combine to one. So this is the most up-to-date and accurate number for the individuals enrolled in the program. Give you a little bit of background. The collector's office is using was purchased or We started using it in July of 2006. So it is an old on-premises computer system. We like on-premises systems because that means it lives here, it lives in the county. We have a little more control over it. However, it is dated. The vendor who manages that current system has an in-cloud or cloud-based version of it, which is one that Jackson County just went to. And at the time that we were looking at the changes that would need to be made for this program, they gave us an estimation of about $4.5 million to implement that program. It wouldn't be solely for SB 190, but that's how it would incorporate it. So it would update everything else. Out to the different vendors across the state who responded to our request for a presentation on their software. There is another vendor that some of the smaller counties use, and I touched base with one of the smaller ones that's already able to put out their bills, and they use that other company. That company would not respond to us because we're too large. So at the time in 2023, we had two vendors. Based on the conversations we had with our current vendor at that time, we believe that they told us they could do the processing of the tax bills, and so we continued with them to see how they would do the first year and if we needed to change the second year, and I think that question's already been answered. So I want to give you some background on the communication that we've had with that vendor. I'm going to give you some specific dates, and then I'm going to jump to month and year, because you can see that staff started communication with our vendor in 2023. We let them know that there was an impending legislation. They were responsible for legislative changes, and we wanted to bring them on board as soon as possible because we were all trying to figure this out at the same time. We continue to reach out to them, provide them with mock bills, what we think it would look like, and as administration made continued decisions, is a TIF going to be included? Is it not going to be included? Those types of things, we continue to have conversation with our vendor. In May of '24, they said that it would take about 3 to 4 months to complete this project. So again, we stayed with them thinking that we would have this available. In August of '24, we requested another update, and it was suggested that maybe we look for outside help. As we continued to look into that, the question was, is it too late to get outside help and bring somebody up to speed, or do we continue to try and work with our vendor who assures us they can do what we need them to do? January of '25, more samples were sent. As you can see, March, we contacted the vendors, told they're still working on the calculations. It'd take a couple of weeks. Now, we have emails to support these communications. In May, amid continued request for updates, they requested a copy of our database. IT provided them a copy, a static copy of the taxing database, so they could look and see what we were talking about, being on the same page. Now, I will say that the developer for this particular company is not locally based. So we had some time zone issues and some communication issues. June of '25, the vendor asked us about determination of a base year, because we started talking about what could change that base year. Additions to the home, any type of new taxes, things of that nature. In July of '25, the county was notified that we needed to install a major update. We did so, and they continued to work on this task of providing bills. In August, clarification was requested from the vendor on how the property characteristics should look. Discussion was had about modifying the counter tax statements to make them more available, and then how we would extract it for a print vendor. In September, the vendor wanted a copy of the legislation and the ordinance, because this is a lot of work going into this, and they're mandated by our contract to meet legislative changes. So I think they were looking at it in that way, and to get a better idea of exactly what the law required. In October, the vendor notified us that we needed to download and install files. We continued back and forth with communications involving incorrect calculations and errors in the test data. We held discussions about processing business and personal property bills. Once the levy rates were certified, you could not make changes without completely overwriting the database from backup. So our thought process was, fine, let's get everything else out and just keep these to the side. We couldn't separate them in that manner. So we did go ahead and ask them to process the business bills and the personal property bills. After that, we ended up getting to, you got a lot of words on the screen, but I'll just tell you, we ended up getting to the point where we said, okay, take it back to 2024, put in current levy rates, process all the tax bills, and then divert them when we go to send them out so that we can at least get the ones out, 100,000 plus real estate bills, get those out to the people, divert the 17,114 into this stack over here so that we could at least serve the majority of the county. We have found that a couple of those have slipped through, but staff did make sure that we were able to disallow online payment for those tax bills that are in the program because we don't want people overpaying. So, as of today, this afternoon, our vendor has been able to properly calculate 3 bills. They cannot disperse the monies on the back end yet. It gets wonky, and I'll give you an example of that. I'm sorry. They can calculate the front end of the bill, but when we try and do a fake payment, it goes into the system, and when it distributes it to the taxing jurisdictions, it doesn't do it properly. And I have an example of that. So this is an example of, if you really look at the bottom, you see that on the left-hand side is the original tax, I think. And on the right-hand side, they're 30 cents off. No big deal. We can eat 30 cents. But if you look at how it is distributed in the back end, those variations are way too large for us to just eat. I mean, $17 difference, $10 difference, you multiply that by the numbers of the bills, it's inaccurate and it's not acceptable. So that's where staff is currently at, and that's what they're going through, and they have a hand calculation, I'll get to that too. They have a hand calculation of all 17,114 bills. That's what they are going back to verify, is it going in the right place? Does it say the right thing? So, what's going on? I told you all that we could do this. I thought we could. And we did. We figured all 17,114 of those bills. Simple, right? You do an Excel spreadsheet, straightforward, maybe not. This is a raw data example of the Excel spreadsheet. This lives in Excel. This has to be put into a document that can be mailed out. All right, that's pretty simple. Let's do a mail merge, create a document, do a mail merge, and send them out. Okay, that's where we were going. Well, there's a problem. Again, we thought it was a great contingency plan. It wasn't. So what I didn't know and what I failed to plan for. The manually calculated numbers could not be manually entered into the automated system. If the tax bill isn't in the automated system, you can't make an electronic payment. Okay? If the payment's made by check, cashier's check, or cash, I can't credit your account because it's in the automated system, but there's no number in the automated system. All right? So if we go ahead and accept payments manually, we'd have to create a separate account, dump that money in that separate account, and then try and figure out manually, again, based on that raw data spreadsheet that I showed you, how it would be distributed to the different taxing jurisdictions. And I do believe it would cause our auditor to have a coronary when he started trying to reconcile the accounts, because it would never go into the automated account. It would always live separate. And then where do we put that information? How do we then access that information again next year, right? So that we can show they paid their bills. A lot bigger problem than I thought, so I was wrong. when I told you that hand-calculated bills were going to work. I can get you the bill, but I can't get you a vehicle to pay your bill. So we are still trying to work on what that means. We are still pushing our current vendor. Again, we're excited that they got 2 to 3, I think maybe even 5. Okay.
Well, and they're
Five.
all from all different TCAs, so we're trying to sample from the.
Would you come up and speak into the mic so everybody can hear you, please? Thank you. And identify yourself.
I'm Randy McIntosh, assistant, or the financial analyst in the collector's office. All 5 of those bills have come from different TCAs. We are trying to make sure that we get at least one from each TCA to make sure that the calculations are correct. It seems how there are different jurisdictions on each bill. So that's what we were working on tonight. And I believe IT was in the process of downloading the new files that were sent at about 4:55 today for us to continue testing.
I'm going to make her stand here. Okay, questions?
Thank you for the presentation, and actually, I think it's worked out well that we have so many citizens here, because I think it is hard to just kind of pick up on the difficult task that staff has performed trying to get this thing to work. One of the things impressed me from the outset was when we were putting together the website to actually take in applications. I believe there were at least 2 trial runs that were going through there trying to work out the bugs so that it would be as an efficient a process as possible. And it sounds like everything just kind of went sideways on you guys.
That's a way to put it, yes. Yes, it is not working out the way that we had expected, hoped, or should be. And so staff, Randy herself, came in Friday after Thanksgiving. She is in constant contact because our vendor is on the East Coast, or I'm sorry, the West Coast. So long hours, long after everybody else is gone.
And I believe it's already been out, but if you could kind of give us an idea of what this means to a taxpayer when they get their bill a little bit later than they had anticipated. How does that affect things, or is that really part of your area on this? Am I barking up the wrong tree?
No, you're correct. As far as the tax bills, once we get those out, you have 30 days, and what we'll do is give a grace period to that. So that means there will be no penalties or anything for that. So if you get them out later this month, we'll be 30 days and give you the grace period in order to get those paid.
I want to make sure that everybody
And that
was...
will be communicated with us, with the communication when we mail those out to all the
Absolutely.
taxpayers.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we were able to communicate that at every possible moment so that people did not concern themselves that lateness on their bills coming out was going to put them in a tight spot trying to get back, that we would be sensitive to the fact that they need to have time to work it through their own personal finances. So I wanted to make sure that was heard and understood. With that, Commissioner Withington, I believe you were the first to chime in. Please proceed.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to the collector's office for working through this. And I want all of our staff to know, if I say anything, I'm not criticizing anybody, I'm just really frustrated about this whole thing. So I want nobody to think I'm criticizing anybody in staff. I think we have great staff. I send out emails 6, 7, 8 times a year telling my staff how great they are. So no one think I'm criticizing anybody. But I just want to know how the hell this happened. I was elected in 2022, and every year we've screwed this up somehow, even before Senate Bill 190. When I got elected in 2022, IT created my email address in, late November. I'm getting emails in December of problems with property tax statements. In 2023, we had problems with property tax statements. Last year, was it last year or the year before, there was a printing problem. It just seems like we're a first-class county who can't get property taxes right. Like, it's embarrassing that we every year screw this up. It's a joke. People tell me every year, is the county gonna get the property taxes right? And I said, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out shortly. And it's embarrassing that's how we're operating as a first-class county. But Dieta, you stood here before this commission when Joanne brought all this up in 2023. You stood here before this commission and you gave us a list of a presentation of all the risk And the software was one of the biggest things. And we were assured multiple times that this would not be a problem. And now here we are 2 years later, and it's a damn problem. And it's just really frustrating. Like, I don't want any clapping, because I'm not trying to put anybody down or anybody. But it's embarrassing. I work in IT. That's my profession for the last 20 years. And why are we now at the end of the line finding out this? This was never communicated to any of us commissioners. The last update that I received was from you, this is not going to be a problem. And now here we are, and it's a problem. Why wasn't this commission updated? And it's just, I'm as frustrated as the rest of them, and I'm not even getting a tax break. I got my bill and I paid it last week. But it's just frustrating. I mean, Commissioner Carpenter was in an election where the the election board screwed up all of his IT. They programmed the machines wrong down there. And I know that's a different vendor, but it's just like every time we turn around, there's some kind of problem. And this commission's never up to date on anything. And here we are now at the end of the road, and we're getting emails asking why this is screwed up. So first off, I want to know why we have problems every year with these tax bills, and also why wasn't this commission brought up to speed? Because I look stupid when I have my constituents come to me and ask me what the hell's going on, and my answer is, I don't know. And then I have to call Tracy to ask Tracy what's going on, and because no one's telling me anything. So why does this happen every year, and why wasn't this commission up to speed?
First of all, I think I'd like to say that in 2023 is when there was a printing issue, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was 23. It might have been the one in 22.
Well, I just know that every year there's been a problem.
Excuse me, ladies, please make sure you speak into the microphone so everybody can hear the commentary. Thank you.
We had, the print vendor had an issue with obtaining envelopes the 1 year. I had requested that we ordered those in August. The employee with the print vendor is no longer there and did not order them until October.
Okay.
So that was that issue. We've had them available online almost every year by about November 7th.
Yeah.
And when they are available online, then you can come in and pay in person as well. But I can't speak for our outside vendors.
Yeah, no, and I get that, and I tell people all the time they go online. And I also tell people about prepayment, but there's a lot of people who don't want, you know how it is. They rather come drop a physical check in the mailbox, and then we have to deal with that when they get postmarked because there's post office issue. But it just seems like every year there's some kind of problem, and it's embarrassing. We're a first-class county. We're better than this.
And I won't disagree with you that it is embarrassing. I don't want to stand up here and tell you that. But that's the fact and that's the reality, and I think that I should tell you the truth. I think it should be very, very transparent. That's why you have some of the communication. I didn't put it all in because Randy gave me 6 pages of communication between herself and the vendor. So we are continuing to try and utilize what we had because it's not as easy as making a left-hand turn in your vehicle. You have to turn the ship when you're talking about changing the software for a taxing purpose. We thought that this would be the best course of action. That turned out to be the wrong decision. And so we are trying to do what we can to figure out how we can make it better and how we can make sure that the citizens of Clay County don't suffer because we were not able to meet our deadline as we had hoped to do so.
Well, I mean, they're already suffering, right? And so you, on this timeline that I requested last week, or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, you got stuff in here from August and you got stuff in here from September. That was never communicated to us. We didn't know any of this. Then you have stuff in here from May, June, and July. This commission, or maybe some of the commissioners were brought up to speed on this, but I wasn't. I mean, we should have been giving you guys, when did you guys realize you were having problems?
I would say once we were given the files to test with.
And what month was that?
October.
October.
They were definitely delayed. I think on that timeline, it said that they were July is when they expected, July or August. And we've been asking, we've stayed in communication with them, but until we could actually test something, I wasn't aware that calculations and distribution was an issue.
So do we have a timeline on when this issue is going to be resolved?
They provided files tonight that like I said, IT was in the process of installing. I haven't had a chance to obviously look at those yet, but it is my goal to look at them. I've been in communication with them about the distribution issue. I didn't have time to fully tell them where the issues were at and what we think is wrong, but I've been working on that while I've been sitting back there. So we're trying.
All right, I appreciate your help. So where are we at on moving from on-prem to cloud? You guys said it's what, $4.5 million?
Right this minute, we're worried about getting the tax bills out.
I know, but are we thinking about, are we
Okay.
looking at the budget for
We-
on-prem versus
We
cloud?
will. We talked about that this past Tuesday,
Yeah.
that we would add that to the budget. The other portion is that we've decided to look at, after I talked to them, we're going to look at another software, but like I said before, that software would not take place, we don't know, over time. We look at that, what that looks like as far as transitioning all your files over. The thing about having on-site software in a 20-year system is that you're trying to get all that 20-year system over to another system, as you're aware with being the IT side. So I myself have reached out to 2 other vendors to look at to help us with vetting that. This is, of course, a statewide, because it's a statewide mandate to utilize the SB 190 software. But on our side, we have to figure out what that means as far as a new software, a new operating system, and that's what we'll work towards.
Yeah,
So we'll have to put out, to give you kind of idea what that process will look like, we'll have to put out RFP, which will more than likely, after we get everything out, the same office that we got to work through the RFP process will need to get out the bills, and that's their first priority. Explain to them we've got to do both ways, and they've done a good job of trying to look at 2 tracks. One is calculate by hand, which is 17,000 bills plus, and the other one is figure out what we can do with the contract that we got. The next part is after that we'll do an RFP process, get that out on the streets, and get some software, vendors to come back with something to us. By this time, most of them have went through it already with another county or another jurisdiction, which gives them opportunity to understand what it is to be the vendor that we need them to be. And from that standpoint, we'll give you updates on what that looks like going forward.
Yeah, and I know we talked about that earlier this week, but there was a lot of people here
Yeah,
that tuned
yeah.
into that budget hearing, so
No
wanted to
problem.
make sure that they heard that. I just, it sounds like, I really appreciate your leadership on this, and the collector's office leadership on this too. You guys are doing a great job, and I don't blame you guys at all. I'm just disappointed that, looking at this timeline that I requested, it sounds like there was, issues were noticed a long time ago, not just in October, and that was never communicated to us, and that's what I'm disappointed about. Looks like you guys, looking at this, you guys knew that there was going to be problems. This could have been expected, looking at this timeline, the vendors looking at it, asking for things, because I think the vendor knew they were having problems. I just wish you knew how high profile this is. You should have communicated this to this commission, or at least given us an update or something. So I'm just disappointed in you, Dieta, on this, okay?
I will take that.
Well, I will say this is we as staff, I understand the collector's office is something we do. This is a job for us. Not one person is taking ownership of that. And I'll tell you on my side, I work on that. I've been on board for the past 6 months. I understand what the precedent is in order to make sure that our citizens receive that. I received a bill myself for the past 23 years as a Clay County resident. And if this is an issue that we're having, we will work on this from going forward. I've already explained to staff that we will give you a update in October. The last meeting in October, you will receive an update as a commission on where we are and where we're going forward. The things that we look at as far as deadlines, I was looking at the deadline being November 30th, which means I had 30 days from there. But the deadline can be earlier because the November 7th is when you utilize it, you see them online. So we'll give you that update going forward and make sure that's something you can communicate. And it'll be standard on our agenda going forward. So it will be no ifs, ands, or buts of whether or not you receive that information.
Does that conclude your remarks for the moment? Okay, thank you. Before I go to Commissioner Johnson, I just want to say that this is a complex operation that we're talking about. In fact, the legislature had to pass 2 bills to get this where we have it now, which is a usable program. That's not disparaging of the Senate and the House, but that says basically, it speaks to the difficulty and the complexity of what we're trying to do to provide this relief. It took them, like I say, 2 bills in 2 separate years to get us to this degree of functionality. So I don't want anybody to underestimate the large task that's been taken on by staff, and they, I think, are trying to their level best to make sure that it is implemented as well as possible. Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. First and foremost, I think this is a perfect example of why we need to get rid of property taxes altogether.
Amen.
Do I get an amen? Yeah. You mentioned that on July of this year, that the vendor asked us to do a major update to the system.
Yes.
Did we have to pay for that update?
No, these are, they call them hot patches. They send them out once or twice a year. They're just updates to the system. Generally, they involve things like what other customers have asked for, improvements and that kind of stuff.
Okay. And then, so all the other counties, they're able to do this. Why are they able to do this and we're not? What's different?
Well, I have spoken with Platte County. They use that other vendor that will service some of the smaller counties but wouldn't come talk to us in 2023. St. Charles County has a dedicated IT person. They have a first-generation version of the cloud-based program that is similar to what we utilize, but they do have an on-site IT person to help make this happen. Some of the smaller counties, that's what they refer to because they can't afford the larger companies and their tax billing system.
How was Jackson County able to do this and we couldn't?
They paid $6 million.
For a new vendor or a new system?
Yeah.
Software system?
They were on Ascend, which is what we are on, and they upgraded.
Wait, say that one more time?
They were using Ascend, which is the same software that we are using for tax collection, and then they went ahead and upgraded to Aumentum, which
Okay.
would be the next step up from Ascend.
And that was a $6 million upgrade, you said?
Yes. I had our purchasing manager look into the contract for them. It's $6 million over 3 years.
Okay. And so the vendor that we use, what is the vendor? Are we saying their name, or is there a reason why we're not saying the name?
She just said the name. It's Ascend.
Ascend.
And she's trying to be very
Yeah.
general.
No, I don't care. So Ascend is the vendor, and has Ascend done this at for any other county anywhere successfully?
This is a new program here in Missouri. We were one of
Right.
three. We were one of three clients here in Missouri. They have done something similar in other agencies outside of the state of Missouri, but not as complicated as this particular one. As Commissioner Nolte had indicated, we don't have a lot of guidance, and there are some nuances to this particular mandate that don't exist in those others. And in addition, Jackson County is not applying the statute the same way that Clay County is, which makes it much easier.
So we'll say, we have a fairly large crowd here tonight, and I think it's actually kind of good that they can see how the sausage is made here in Clay County. Not only see our mistakes and how we've kind of messed this process up, but at the same time see some of the heroes behind the scenes that have worked on, in this case, over 17,000 bills that were hand calculated, right? Who
Yes.
did that? Who are the people that did that?
Randy created the software or the Excel spreadsheets, and then Barbara and some of her other staff put all that information in.
So from the collector's office, basically the collector's office did all that.
Well, yes,
Yes.
all of the calculations reside in the collector's office.
How many man-hours, person-hours do you think that was?
I wouldn't even begin to guess because there were weeks spent on it by multiple people.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate that. We're sorry that you guys were put in that position, that you had to do that, but we truly appreciate what you did. That's a huge undertaking, 17,000 tax bills.
Well, we needed to make sure also that when this was implemented, that we had a way to test it and make sure that it was calculating correctly. And we figured the best way to do that was to get these calculations done as ahead of time as possible.
Yeah. So I will echo what Commissioner Withington said. I too am frustrated. As you know, we went through this for a while, we talked about, hey, let's do this right, let's make sure we run it through the systems, let's make sure we test this out, so when we roll this out, we're ready to go. And obviously, you've laid out why it didn't work, and I appreciate your presentation, Dieta, but it's unfortunate, but, the old saying, you can't cry over spilt milk, you gotta clean it up. And we gotta move forward, and we gotta figure out a way to make this work for our taxpayers, and sounds like you guys are working on that, but obviously that's a challenge here, and we have a county administrator who came in, midway through this process, and I'm sorry you had to take this on like this, but now it's in your hands, it's in your lap, and you gotta carry this through. We gotta figure out a way to make this happen, not only this year, but more importantly for the years to come, going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm also reminded of another old saying, which I shared with my colleague earlier, and that is, the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
And I'm in hell right now.
I understand. I understand. And, but I do want to express my sincere thanks both to you, to Dieta, and especially to you, Randy. This ain't fun, and this isn't fun right now. And I'm hoping those Thanksgiving leftovers were decent while you were sitting in the office downstairs, but all kidding aside, thank you. Really, thank you. A couple questions, though, which perhaps I missed. So we had some escapees from the 17,114 parcels, but I don't think I quite got a handle on the number of those notices that went out. I'm assuming that some of the folks here tonight may have gotten one of those escapees, but I'm trying to understand just kind of how big our problem is as far as what's been released.
And I don't know if I can answer that with total accuracy, but I can indicate that the ones that we do know that escaped were the ones that had the multi-structures on the same parcel. So there were 38 of those, and I've had some phone calls from those folks. And then I think we had two phone calls from a couple of other folks that I can't answer that. They didn't get properly diverted. But I can say that if they go to pay their bill online, it does say that it's been disabled, so that they're not paying the wrong amount. And I don't even know if they could pay it.
Gotcha.
I mean, in person, I don't know.
In person, we have notes on all of the accounts to let the cashiers know that this is an SB 190 property and to not take payment on it yet.
Okay, gotcha. And then, and I may be conflating the issues, but your earlier spreadsheet, Dieta, suggested that, and maybe it was just those 38-ish, we'll say, were those that received errors in what they were billed, if I understand that slide correctly. Based on your look at me, I'm thinking maybe I did not get the message properly.
In October, I said that we had 17,141 applications. Between that time and now, GIS has gone through and they found a couple where there's a taxing jurisdiction that goes right down the middle of a person's house. So you've got two parcels that goes to one house.
Yeah.
And to not skew the numbers, they combine that for the total of 17,114. And then you've got the ones that we had taken out between October 8th and current.
Yeah.
To try and evaluate whether they actually had a secondary residence on their home. The ones that had a secondary address were removed from the program because you've now got two homes. During that presentation, we talked about those things that were a man cave, a she shed, or small amenities over a detached garage. In the interest of fairness, because we didn't even anticipate that being an issue, we went ahead and included those individuals. It was only the ones that had a separate address. Now, there were two of those that had a separate address, but they provided photos of the house being gutted because they had to gut that house so that they could live in the house that they built on that parcel, but they still had two addresses.
So that situation is really the situation of the escapees that we discussed. That's that
my understanding of
situation.
the ones that have gotten the bill, yes.
Okay.
I cannot stand here and say to you that someone else hasn't.
No,
But
I understand.
that's the intent.
So I'm just trying to, kind of my line of questioning, and I'll be kind of dangerous probably if I get too far. But some of the issue that's been described to us, and I think one of the reasons why we have those in attendance that we have, is partially due to what was expected on the bill and then what actually came on that bill. And I guess my line of questioning is trying to determine is the reason for that what we've described as part of the issue with the vendor, or if that is a different issue. I'm trying to make sure I got my problems segregated correctly.
If the parcel was not designated as an SB 190 parcel inside of a SIND, then the regular taxes were calculated on it. So the bill that they received would have the regular taxes on it if they were not in the program. So that's what they would have received. Once we get them in the program and get it calculated, it will then give them the credit.
Okay.
So
Okay, so then those non-escapees, once they are basically hand calculated by the staff, would then receive a correct a correct billing that would reflect the rebate that they are supposed to receive.
yes.
Okay, fine. And then the other question that I have, and I can't decide, I don't know if it's an administrator question or a county councilor question, so I'll toss it out there. Yeah, he'll look to his left and then he'll make you answer it, probably. So I appreciate the fact that as these bills are created and they're created correctly, they get sent out, people have 30 days to respond. If they go past January 1, so be it, that's how it works. But I guess my concern is both in how that is communicated, because this body is certainly, and I think we even have one tonight, we have several waivers of fees and interest and penalties, and many times, as I think was alluded to earlier by my colleague, we may get mailed something, or because something didn't get mailed at the right time, or whatever the case may be, and sometimes people say, well, I thought there was a grace period. Well, now we're introducing the notion that for a certain group of taxpayers, we may indeed allow a grace period to occur. And so I have not trepidations, that's too strong a word, but at least a concern that unless it is not clearly said that this group gets that, this group does not, and I'm assuming, Mr. Counselor, unless you want to turn to your right and ask him, my understanding is we can allow for those as a body. We can, because we often talk about what state law says. I want to just be very clear for body, for public, that if we say this certain class of taxpayer gets a grace period, but this class of taxpayer does not, that we don't run afoul of anything. It's as opposed to it's all or nothing.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that as long as we can justify why that would be treated differently. Now, obviously, in this situation, there's a reason to treat them differently. Some people got their bills timely and others have not. And so as long as we stay within those two buckets, I think we're okay.
Okay, that's fine. Well, I knew you would answer that question. I don't even know why I even said the
Mr.
administrator.
Counselor, I'd like to follow up on that point, and that is we are obviously empowered to, if it is the fault of the county, to set aside interest and penalties on late taxes. This seems to me, while it was certainly on the county, I hesitate to say fault, but certainly it was the county who is.
It's our responsibility.
So that, I mean, what we're doing by extending the deadline is in fact eliminating the penalties and interests, because we are acknowledging that it is the county's responsibility to do that, and we were not able to do that. Therefore, citizens should not be penalized for what we do here in the county.
That's correct. And my additional concern would be to make sure that we clearly delineate how long that grace period lasts, because it doesn't last till, May, June, July.
Exactly.
It lasts to a corresponding period of time from when they should have had it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, my only other comment, since I called the Jackson County collector, who's been a friend of mine for over 30 years, and I just asked him, what did they do? And it reminds me of the saying, I guess I'll end on a saying, you can sometimes get, you can ask for either cheap or fast, you won't get both. And in the case of Jackson County, they did not go cheap. They went ahead and spent the money, and it seems like, to your point, that's kind of where we're at too. And look forward to seeing that, and that's a big old pill to swallow, but I guess to do it right, that's what it takes. So thank you again for your hard work, and that ends my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson.
Finally. I thought, I have to go back in my memory banks, but I know you'll get me in the right direction. That bill was signed in 23, August of 23, was
Yes.
that right? 24? 23.
23.
It would have taken effect August of 23, August 28th, most likely.
28th, yeah. He signed it at the end of August 2023.
Right.
Okay. Shortly after that, we set up our team, and we started meeting. We were so impressed with you, I have to tell you. In that meeting, the biggest concern, I believe, was software. We knew we could do everything else, but how the hell were we going to do the software? What was it going to cost us? After about 4 or 5 meetings, I remember that you came up and said, we've got to fix. And our existing software people are going to be able to do this. I mean, we all went out and had a drink. It was wonderful. And we were so excited about it because we thought we can still do what we're supposed to do and not have to spend the money. In every meeting that we did, and I know that probably the majority of you came to those meetings, one of the slides said, in order to get this accomplished properly, we are going to have to spend literally millions of dollars. Now that stuck in my craw, yeah, but I realized it was a fact of life. I guess the thing that bothers me the most, and I have to say it or I'll explode, is the fact that although we did have this maybe fix, we weren't 1,000%, why weren't we going ahead at that time and at least going out, sending something out, getting out an RFP to say, this is the software we're going to need, and have that on the back burner so in case everything else went to hell in a handbasket, we had that to fall back on. I felt like, that was something that we might have done, and was there a reasoning for not doing it?
Our purchasing agent at the time reached out to the different software companies that were utilized by collectors' offices across the state. That was the first phone call. Who do you use? A good portion of them are smaller and they use in-house. So we reached out to the software individuals that were in use. Ascend was used by, Aumentum by St. Charles, the first generation. She has subsequent in-house IT to bolster that. Jackson County at that time had Ascend and decided that they were going to entertain Aumentum. And then the other one was DevNet. And so we were looking at DevNet, and they came and gave us a presentation. There were a few considerations, and one of them would be, this is going to take a lot to change. Is this something that we can utilize a collaborative effort with both the clerk and the assessor's office and the collector's office so that we can update everything, which was ultimately our goal.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it was we were told that we could do it. We didn't know exactly what kind of software we needed because this had not been done in the state.
Sure.
And the various calculations, especially with Clay County having TIF. And we are including TIF, whereas other jurisdictions aren't. Some of the other jurisdictions aren't accepting anybody who has a home in a trust. We are being over-accommodating to our citizens to allow more people in. The other jurisdictions are like, you're not the owner, the TIF's the owner, goodbye. So that's one of the problems. Now, our current purchasing manager has already been given the direction to start looking for some of the other software. And that's part of his plate. Right now, we thought it was most for the collector to focus on getting the bills out. But that is
absolutely.
right there on the heels, and we've had conversation with the county administrator. We all know that we need something different.
Okay.
That our current vendor has failed us, even though they kept saying we're working on it, we're working on it. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, and so the existing vendor, the fact that he has done such a miserable job, is there any accountability? Does he have to kick in to help us purchase our software because of all the delays and inability to do this properly?
I think on that particular question, I'd have to defer to our counselor and his review of any type of contract that exists with that vendor.
Okay, well, that's a possibility. So you already have started looking for a new vendor, and we're going to have to, at this point, manually do the bills for the 190s?
We already have the bills, or the collector's office already has the bills figured.
Okay.
If we have to go the manual route, we'll have to work very closely with our auditor because they'll have to set up a separate account and have to work on that type of reconciliation and how we would distribute the money to the different taxing jurisdictions. It is still our hope with the uploading of tonight's files that if they were able to get the front end of the bill straight, that they'll be able to get the back end of the bill straight.
Okay. And give me an idea, and I know you can't be exact, but give me a pretty good ballpark of when you think these 190 people will get their bills.
A lot of it just depends on the testing. If this upload goes well tonight, and we will be testing probably tonight and tomorrow, and into the weekend if needed, then it's just a matter of the back end and making sure that that is right. My hopes are that it would be soon, but I don't want to give you a date
I
and then
understand.
with everybody, and I can't guarantee it.
Yeah.
But I would like to say I hope soon.
Okay. Do you feel comfortable with before Christmas? We could
sure
send them
hope.
out in a Christmas
I sure
card?
hope. I sure hope. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to make sure that you're aware that we have been putting information out on social media as far as the challenges that we're facing. In addition, we're utilizing the emails that each of our applicants had provided us, and we are sending them an email. The goal is to send them an email every 3 days. And I know that might sound excessive, but they're waiting, right? I might not have anything new to tell you. As a matter of fact, I need Squall to put one out tonight. We're still working on it. I know you don't want to hear that, but
No,
we're not
it's-
forgetting you, right? So
Yeah.
we are doing that, and then we had 650 that did not provide an email. So the staff sent out letters. We went snail mail, so that we would make sure that we reached out to those individuals.
Good. And as those bills are printed up, usually at the bottom of the bill, it says, when you get the regular bill, it says when it has to be paid by. So this will then reflect that new date when the folks have to have the bill in by.
You're putting me on the spot. I cannot,
Sorry.
I can't say yes or no to that without looking at one. I'm sorry.
I think it's something we need to look at because,
Commissioner, are you asking if we will communicate when the bill will be due? And
Yeah, when
yes,
it's
we will.
generated.
Yes,
Yeah.
it will. We will
Yeah.
generate it. It may not have to be on that bill, but it will be a part of that package. So whatever we mail out, we'll explain what dates it will be due and how
Great.
much time you have.
That's what I wanted.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
we can
what
get
I
a buck
wanted.
slip inserted.
Okay, okay. And I would, if I had a magic crystal, I would like to calculate how, and somebody referenced this, I think it was you, how many man-hours over what we would normally do with this has been spent. I bet we come close to a couple $1 million that we could have put towards that software. I've got to say, I'm so disappointed in the way this has gone. Don't blame anybody. Everybody worked hard in those meetings. We tried to bring it all together, make sure everything was done, all our T's crossed, I's dotted, but obviously things fell through the cracks. So as soon as we can do it, and as soon as we can get something back on software, I'd like for all of us to be made aware of it. And as it progresses through, I would like to see some kind of, just a quick email that Damon can do. You guys got your hands full. That just tells us it's going good. This is happening. This is happening. So when people call us, we're not caught with our britches down because frankly, right now we have been. We've gotten all kinds of emails, all of us. And I don't mind answering them, love to hear from people. That's what I'm here for. But it's an inconvenience to them, and we're here to serve the people that put us in office. So anyway, thank you for all you've done. We love your department. You guys are great. Don't ever think that we don't appreciate what you do. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
Commissioner Carpenter?
Thank you, Commissioner. I just want to pick up a little bit on the sort of forward-looking thread here. You know, like Commissioner Johnson said, no reason to cry over spilt milk or be overly retrospective, at least in this moment, because we've got a bit of an ongoing crisis here. And so, you know, another aspect, right, is that we're going to have to do the 30-day grace period. We're already to the 4th. We normally would have sent these out about a month ago, right? The bills.
We would have sent them no later than the 30th.
Right.
But we generally have been sending them out by the second week of November.
Okay. So once we hit December 1st, now we were past the sort of deadline. You know, it's December 4th. Obviously, I heard the answer that we can't say for sure when this is going to be resolved, and I know a lot of that is ultimately in the hands of how this goes with the software vendor. But the county collects hundreds of millions of dollars in taxes and then distributes them to taxing jurisdictions, mostly not kept by the county, mostly to your school districts and other entities. Obviously, they rely on us to do that, and time is money. When you're talking hundreds of millions of dollars, the later those dollars hit the accounts, the more money is sort of lost in the process in terms of interest, if nothing else. So obviously, we gotta, with that kind of money and that, this kind of deadline, we gotta get this resolved very soon. If the software vendor, if it doesn't go well for whatever reason with the upload tonight, and the software vendor continues to fail us, what do we do then?
Yeah, that's the part of the hand calculation and figure out on the backside. So we're doing simultaneously to kind of get us another opportunity to make sure we get those bills out. So we're doing both the hand calculations, figure out what those are, along with utilizing the software. And then on the back end of that, we have to figure out how to distribute that once we get those funds in. Because then that goes from being a pretty much where you pay online or you pay at the service to now we got to do that calculated by hand, and while continues to collect on the other side.
Yeah.
So we got all the rest of them out, tax bills wise, and those 17,000 is what we have to work on, making sure we collect them the correct way.
So thank you. And so Dita, you mentioned several challenges with the hand counting process, accounting for those challenges. And any others that we might be able to anticipate? What kind of time frame are we talking about for pursuing that strategy if the software vendor option falls through?
So Randy has already reached out to our print vendor to see if they can do the mail merge, to create the form for the handwritten bills and do that so that we will have a consistent method of getting them out. They are professionals at creating those bills and to fold them and put them in the mail. We figured if we would follow the most of our policy or the most of our procedure that we can, it's better, instead of having staff trying to fold and stuff and all of that. It just delays things. So we're already working on that. I don't know that we have an answer from him yet.
I don't. He asked some more questions tonight before I came up here. I sent him some other information. I know it's going to drive more questions, but we are talking.
And so then the next step would be to get with both Barbara and the auditor and see how the best course of action with that, as far as establishing, if we have to establish a new account, what that looks like, and how we will make sure that when I pay my $1,000 and you pay your $1,000, how do we know it gets attributed to the correct account? Because the automated and the manual don't talk to each other. And that's, I think, in my perspective as a Clay County resident, if I'm going to pay my bill, I sure as heck want credit for it. So we need to make sure that we get that right. And again, I've been saying that we need to get it right, and that's why we're still here, is we need to get it right. We're not going to put out a bill, even if it looked like it was 30 cents off on the front, on the back end, where we're going to have a bunch of taxing jurisdictions not receive the correct amount of money. It just creates more of a chaotic mess if we don't take our time right now.
Totally agree, yeah. So there are only two options going forward, right? It's either going to work out with the software vendor or it's going to be this manual, by hand version. And so I know we can't speak to timelines on the software vendor because they're external, and we're just going to have to see how that plays out. But some sense of timeline on if we end up having to go the manual route when we're talking then.
We'll be talking in the morning, because we'll know tonight, well, in the morning, what those uploads look like, and I will make an appointment with the auditor and the collector in the morning, and we'll get those discussions going.
We'll give you weekly updates on it.
We'll offer a thought on that.
Mr. Auditor, come forward, please.
Yeah, so Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Yes, part of my office is like a control aspect mentioned here about checking that the distributions are done by the 15th of every month to the proper taxing jurisdictions. So I think that's what's referenced. So, certainly to that concern, I think, I'm going to be very certain that I'm going to have to need 100% assurance that, these are correct before we release them. So, I'm hopeful that we have a good process in place before that's done. But to your point, it is roughly like $60 million that would basically be held in suspense until we figure this out.
Thank you. So on that last point, the 60 million figure, obviously each day that goes by, that's another day late that those dollars hit the accounts. Commissioner Wagner asked about, is it perfectly okay to have two different groups, one that does receive the grace period and one that doesn't? You said yes, that's good. Is there any liability concern with regard to the taxing jurisdictions, that if we don't resolve this in a timely manner, that they will be upset with us for not resolving and getting them their money in a timely manner?
Can't say we have anything as far as regarding that one. I mean, there's two things I have for us. One is when we get the money collected, speaking back to the auditor's office, we have a certain time frame to get that distributed. But as far as a timeline of getting that done and getting that into their hands, we don't have that. I don't have any legislation regarding that, but we will check that and follow back up with you on that.
I'll add one more thing. I mean, the $60 million, so that's a tax bill. It's not about the credit calculation. It's the total bill, the base, essentially. So it's important to keep in perspective that that's probably about 10% of total collection distributions. So most of that money goes out in January, but just as far as, the impact for taxing jurisdictions, that would be kind of what that might look like.
Yeah, it's a helpful addition. Thank you. So I guess just my thoughts to commission is that obviously each day that goes by, this becomes a worse situation. And so certainly, like you all have said, very thankful to our hardworking staff for all the working, that they've put into this and are putting into this. Just join you all in, finding this to be an important issue, and we got to make this the most important issue that has really got to be resolved as quickly as possible, and whatever, sort of resources that need to be brought to bear. I hope we all agree that that's what needs to happen. There's the factor of sort of the PR part about people don't get their bills on time and are they frustrated with the county. But I think there's also a dollar and cents component to this too, that each day that goes by, sort of the consequence of this adds up more and more. So we got to get it resolved, but I appreciate y'all's work on it, and we'll keep discussing. Thanks.
Excuse me, any other comments or questions from the commission before we end part one of this discussion? Mr. Assessor, Mr. Administrator, too many A's. Mr. Administrator, if you could, you've done a good job of keeping us informed, but if you could redouble that effort a little bit so that we feel, more comfortable, that would be appreciated. You've done a good job of doing this, but as Commissioner Carpenter pointed out, it is becoming more and more of an acute problem. So I think enhancing the ability for us to keep in the loop on this is probably in order. Your comments?
Oh, I was just saying, I have sent emails to update you weekly, and I'll continue to do those. But I have sent emails to update weekly, including doing the presentation in October to let us know where we are and try to move forward. But I would definitely do that. That's no problem with me.
We certainly do appreciate that. If there are no other comments or questions on part one of this, thank you, ladies. We appreciate you being here and giving us maybe not the news we want to hear, but certainly giving us an accurate picture of where we are at the moment. Thank you very much for that. With that, we will move into part two. Part two has to do with the ordinance itself that we passed, and I'm not going to limit that to necessarily, I think everybody is here pretty much for one specific part of that, but please be aware that you are not limited to that. If you would like to discuss some other part of this ordinance that we have in place, that would certainly be in order to do so. I think the way I'd like to maybe start off, Mr. Counselor, I think you might have a little bit of an update, because one of the concerns was to make sure that we know where we are as far as the legal process goes, and you might be able to give us at least some indication of how you see the legal landscape is before us, so that we can kind of come at least with that initial opinion on how we can proceed. After that, I think what I'd like to do is go ahead and bring citizens up. Once again, I would remind you to make sure the green light is on. Please state your name and then go ahead and make your comments. The gentleman there with the beard is kind of queued up exactly. I don't know if you're the first one in line, but if you could just kind of queue up here, that way I can see how many people. Can I get a show of hands? How many people are intending to comment, just so we get an idea of where we're at on this? Okay. Once again, I want to make sure everybody has their say and is able to fully express their opinions, but do be cognizant that a number of people do wish to comment and express that courtesy by being as brief as possible. Last thing is, I think there's at least one citizen I communicated with that was wanting to submit written materials. If you have written materials, whether in hard copy form or whether in electronic form, please make sure those go to our administrator. That way, all that information will be distributed to commissioners here at the as they come in, so that we can all be fully aware of what it is that you're trying to express to us. So with that, Mr. Counselor, if you'd like to proceed, then we will go to comments from the group.
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner. So briefly, my understanding is the question arose whether bond indebtedness can properly be included or excluded from the freeze. And what we did, obviously, when we passed our ordinance, is that we said, we set aside bond indebtedness and said it's not part of our calculation. We're essentially excluding it from the freeze. And that was based on, I think, some opinions that may have come down from the Missouri Association of Counties, I believe. I've been asked to look at that. I've talked with our bond counsel. It's, it's generally at this point, it's my view that the Constitution does not require the action we took. It certainly allows it, but does not require it. And so what we found was some counties did exactly what we did, and some counties took the other approach. So I want to be very clear. I think what we did do was completely appropriate and proper. But I also think we have the latitude under the Constitution and the statute to take a different approach should you want to. So I think it's a policy decision primarily, how you want to do it with the understanding of the financial impact that it'll have. And so that's my very short view of it. I'm happy to take more questions. But one quick administrative thing I do want to say, it's a little outside my lane, but I think it does need to be said before taxpayers start talking. And this kind of dovetails into the conversation we just had. It is absolutely, in my view, impossible for us to take action that would fix this bond indebtedness problem for 2025, for this tax bill cycle. I think we are talking about something that would be prospective for next year, potentially. So I want to make sure everybody understands that. I think there's absolutely no way, and I could be corrected, I guess, but I think there's absolutely no way that this could be fixed for the 2025 billing cycle.
Thank you for that caveat. That's a very important thing to make sure that is understood. I don't know if any commissioners have questions or comments based on your opinion, but Commissioner Wagner, I believe you were seeking recognition.
Yes, thank you, and I do. Number one, I'll say thanks for tossing the bad news out first. Secondly, though, related to what defines the bond indebtedness, I guess in my mind, bond indebtedness is represented when taxpayers vote something in that requires a bond to be done and a means by which to pay for it. I go back to when I served on the Kansas City Council and we passed our GEO bond back in 2017. In that case, it was expressly said you would see over the course of 20 years rises in property taxes, and voter, you agree to do that, right? Where it gets murky for me is if a taxing jurisdiction of any kind just says, I'm going to put a bond out there. And generally speaking, that may be backed by its general revenues. In that case, I kind of question, well, that was a decision by the jurisdiction, but that doesn't necessarily mean that requires although it would require full faith of the jurisdiction, that doesn't necessarily mean that extends to those residents within the jurisdiction. So I'm trying to understand when that gets tripped and when it does not. And not knowing anybody's particular situation, maybe the question's irrelevant, but for me, it at least would suggest when that is appropriate and when that isn't, if you get what I'm saying.
I don't think I'm fully tracking the question. I mean, I'll say in general, and part of what I didn't say is when there's a bond issue, there's a debt at the end of it, and that debt comes due typically on an annual basis. That debt gets paid regardless.
Right.
The bond holders are going to get, that debt's going to get paid.
Right.
And so this isn't a situation where what we might do with Senate Bill 190 would somehow decrease the end result. The same amount of money has to be paid, and it will be paid.
Right.
And that's at the end of the day, the bill gets paid on this.
Right. So, but I guess, for example, if you have Kansas City, with the example I just used, everyone said, or the proper number of voters said, we're going to pay for these improvements, and we are okay with the amount of extra tax that's necessary to accomplish that goal.
Right.
A school district, on the other hand, maybe one that I'm familiar with, does a series of votes that requires no tax increase in order to put out those bonds. Are we saying that both of them are treated the same way?
So I actually thought about the idea, so you're talking about a debt levy, essentially, that continues to be extended. It has an expiration, but it gets to be extended. Because it's extended, it gets paid potentially, it allows for the bonds. I don't think in a situation where it's being extended, if you're asking, is that a new bond issue and it's no longer being?
Well, I guess more frankly or more directly, I'm just asking, does any old bond that anybody does basically say that that means you are carved out of the rebate program? Or are there instances where that occurs and does not? Because I think kind of the point that I've heard and what I expect to hear this evening is that individuals are paying more than they expect to because someone's put a bond out. And therefore, they are now having to pay whatever increases come with that particular levy.
That's correct.
And so it does not matter, at least the opinion is, it does not matter if there has been a vote to it or not, or that there has been an identification of a funding source for it or not. The mere action that a jurisdiction may be putting out a bond, according to our current rules, require us to say, okay, then that source or that jurisdiction's bill, so to speak, is exempt from the property tax rebate under SB 190.
That's right. So to the extent that we have under our current ordinance that a bond that maybe has to move slightly in order to make sure the payment is made is still subject to being paid, is always going to be subject to being paid, and any person who's a recipient of the benefit of SB 190 should see the same increase anyone else is going to see because we have excluded bond indebtedness.
Okay.
That's exactly right. Now, one caveat, I did talk with bond counsel. They are now on every bond issue they're doing, putting in language that particularly identifies the uncertainty of SB 190 and saying, hey, just so you know, Missouri has passed this law. Jurisdictions may have an ordinance that impacts that. And so because of that, we can't give you the same guarantees of income based on this because the jurisdiction may make that choice.
Sure. And one final point then, I think you said it, and I expect my colleague to probably bring it up as well. But the decision as to whether or not to include that or not has nothing to do with state statute. It is the decision of the county that creates the program.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you. Excuse me. So just to give a little bit more context to this, very difficult and confusing conversation because this gets pretty deep, and I spent a couple of weeks on this already talking with a lot of folks. But we have not been able to talk as a commission about this together yet. So this is the first time we're all talking. So some of this is to give everybody here some context. So how this came about for me is a few weeks ago, the property tax bills came out for the seniors in Platte County. And some of them saw increases that they did not expect to see because of the bond debt. State Representative Mike Jones over there in Platte County, this happened to his own father. I ended up having a conversation with him and made me aware that, hey, we had the same exclusion on our own ordinance that we passed last year that would do the same thing here, cause the same problem. We have State Representative Mark Meyerth with us tonight, and he and I had several conversations. He and I and Mike Jones, Representative Mike Jones, had many conversations about this. We got one of the co-sponsors of the actual SB 190 on the phone, Ben Keithley. Talked to them more than once on the phone, and although to your point it's not written in the law, there's certainly the intent, and they made it very clear, the intent of that SB 190 was to include that bond debt as well, and not to have it be excluded. But nonetheless, the way it's written, and I think everyone agrees, there's a lot of poorly written legislation that's causing us some problems here. But it leaves a lot up to the counties to decide, like our council has mentioned. So whether or not we include or exclude bond debt, if you're a senior, what it looks like, the way we have it written now, we exclude the bond debt, which means if you'd have to pay it, you could potentially see an increase on your freeze. It can increase. It will look to you like, hey, this is a way for government to get through the back door and find a way to raise our frozen taxes. And certainly that's how it comes across, and essentially that's what it is, bottom line. The reason why we're in that position is because when we first created this ordinance, remember, all the counties were kind of scrambling to create an ordinance because we had to create it and accept basically SB 190 in each county. We've kind of had different drafts going around that different counties looked at, and we kind of read off each other's, and, oh, this looks good, and I think it was the Missouri Association of Counties that kind of gave some advice, maybe some legal advice, that says, hey, per the Constitution, you have to exclude this bond debt. I questioned that in my mind, and I thought, well, do we have to? But I didn't push that, and that was my mistake. And I just accepted it, like, okay, yeah, we have to do it this way. After talking with Representative Jones and doing some homework and talking to my own state rep, Mark here, and our council and many other attorneys, I've decided that, no, we don't have to do it that way. We should not have done it that way. The Constitution certainly does not require that. So with that in mind, my thought is, hey, we shouldn't be doing that. We should not be excluding that bond debt for seniors. I would really like to see a 100% freeze of property taxes. We call it a freeze. It's actually, it's a credit that you get back. But we call it a freeze. It should look like a freeze. There's only one exclusion to that, and that's the
Blind people.
yeah. What's it called? The blind pension fund? Yeah, blind pension fund, which is very minimal. So that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of the situation we're at, and I wanted to lay that out for the rest of the commission, who I've not had a chance to talk to all of them one-on-one because of sunshine law. We can't do that. But that's kind of where we're at. That's my position. I did send out an email to all the commission, but we can't talk about it. I just sent out my points to all the commission so they understand where I'm coming from. But that's kind of where we're at. That's kind of where, bottom line, what I would like to do on our ordinance for Clay County is eliminate just one line that says that we're excluding bond debt and get rid of that line and include bond debt for seniors when it comes to the tax freeze. So that's what we're pushing for, or I'm pushing for. And so now we'll let the discussions begin.
By the way, while I appreciate the enthusiasm, if we could keep the reaction to a minimum, that way we allow more time for discussion. And I have a lot of sympathy with Commissioner Johnson's remarks, because when we started out on this thing, it occurred to me that we might see migration and increases on bond indebtedness as a workaround. So that is something that I think a lot of us recognize. One other thing, I just want to kind of give you a little bit of a procedural primer on what we're doing. We are going to be doing this as a discussion item this evening. My expectation is that once we hear from you all, which I think is one of the most important components of this process, what we need to do then is we will come together with some kind of hopeful consensus, instruct staff to assemble whatever kind of legislative fix that we devise, and then take it up at another meeting. That gives us two things. That gives us time to make sure that we have crafted it in the proper form, if additional language is necessary. I don't believe so from what I've seen, but I don't have a crystal ball. At that point, when we take that up, that will certainly get, because I know there are a number of people who wanted to comment on this but were not able to make it this evening. That would give those citizens the chance at that subsequent meeting to be able to come forward and also express their opinions. And then lastly, I just want to say I know there are probably going to be a number of people who are either watching currently on the streaming version of this, or will be watching at a subsequent time. We value the opinion of our citizens, so please make sure that if you're not here and you do want to express yourself, send us an email, and so that we can all see that. By listening to you tonight and by getting that subsequent information, that will make sure that we are able to craft the best possible and the most responsive piece of legislation, or I should say ordinance, possible. So unless there are any other comments, I would like to go ahead and bring the citizens forward, hear their opinions, then we will go ahead and by the way, when you come up and you express your opinion, don't rush off, because there may be some follow-up questions from some of the commissioners, so that may want to delve more deeply into a point that you're making. With that, if the first citizen would like to come forward. Yes, right up there, please, ma'am. And as I said, make sure the green light is on, state your name, and make your comments. Thank you. Yeah, you're on.
My name is Donna Ivanko. I am not upset with any of you because you had no responsibility on adapting whatever formula was passed down from Jefferson City. I'm upset that you have this convoluted formula that you have to use. I came from a state called Florida where they have an exemption, a homestead exemption. So at the time I left Florida, the first $50,000 wasn't taxed, and then you were taxed on the remaining of that. It would be so much simpler if we had a $75,000 or $100,000 home exemption and then the rest of it get taxed just like it used to be. It would be so much simpler, and I think the formula and the calculation for doing a software update or renewal of some kind would be a whole lot less expensive. I know you have to report to Jeff City. I'd like to know who in Jeff City put together whatever kind of package that you have to abide by and how they're getting reimbursed or compensated, because they may have money invested in the software companies or the computer companies that have those machines that do these calculations. So I think that everybody is getting a raw deal out of this whole thing. Homestead exemption would be a lot simpler.
Actually, before you go, we did at one time have what was called the Homestead Preservation Act, which is essentially what you're describing. And that program, I thought, worked very well in conjunction with the circuit breaker program, which is still in place. Unfortunately, when I was down in Jeff City as a representative, that program was brought up. We in the House, and I certainly supported retaining that program, voted to retain it. When it went to the Senate, it unfortunately did not have the votes to pass. I'll just put it that way. I think that was a cleaner, more easily understood system. The time that I had down there, subsequent to that, I tried to advocate that we bring that back, but it was not able to happen, I'm sorry to say. So this is another way that we can do this. My opinion is seniors need to have property tax relief. What form that takes, I do care what form it takes. On the other hand, any road that gets us there, which is not too convoluted, I'm ready to take. So that's kind of my opinion is, I think the other system was better than the one we are currently under, certainly more easily understood, more easily implemented. But whatever it takes to make sure that seniors are able to stay in their homes, I'm probably going to be pretty good with, unless there's just something in there that is a poison pill. That aside, we need to protect the ownership rights that people have, especially seniors.
Thank you.
Oh, hold on a moment. Commissioner Carpenter, I think you were wanting
Well, I'll just say me too. I'll say real briefly, though. I strongly agree. Would have been much simpler, radically simpler, and it also would have been fair. All seniors would have received the same benefit, call it $50,000, $100,000 exemption, rather than having to depend on the value of your property, which is how this version goes, in addition to being more complicated. So strongly agree. We ought to send you down to Jefferson City and get them into shape. Agree with you. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I don't see any other questions, but we appreciate certainly having you come forward and express your opinion. Next citizen who'd like to, please come forward, sir.
My name's Kenneth McCoy. I've been a resident in Clay County for 78 years. What I'd like to know is why this wasn't all straightened out before you all ask everybody to come in and apply for it and get approved of it, and then go through all this crap again.
We were putting together the package as best we could, and we thought we were following the best possible. But as I say, it is, these things have to be changed. And we are happy that you came in and are telling us that, this is not working for you, because we need to have that.
What I mean is, why wasn't this all straightened out before they ever asked us to come in and apply for it? This thing should have all been cut and dried before they ever applied for it. And then you apply for it, then you get approved for it, and then you get all these text messages, you gotta do this, you gotta do that, you gotta bring in another parcel number. I don't understand it all.
Quite honestly, the system before we got a hold of it was more convoluted than it is now. We did a fair amount of straightening out of things, including the qualification. Originally, the legislation that we got said the qualification was that you had to be Social Security benefit eligible. That seemed a little, to tell you the truth, I went on the Social Security site and I wanted to get a definition. What does that actually mean? And there was no definition. Even Social Security Department couldn't give us an answer on that. That's why myself and others on this panel said, you know what? We all know when we turn 62. That's why we did that. So that was why we might have missed some of the things that we should have done. We hit the others, and that was one of them that we got right, was essentially, and I will just speak for myself rather than the entire commission, although I suspect there's some sympathy for this thought, was that we should change it to where it's 62. People can understand that. People can verify that very easily with a driver's license or identification. That is easier to do, and my opinion was we had to do that, and if the state didn't like it, let them sue us. So yes, we fixed a lot of things on there that were problematic. Did we miss a couple of things? There is no doubt in my mind that we did not. We were not batting 1,000 here. Any other questions or comments from the? Did you have anything else to add to that, by the way?
No, sir.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
My name's Chris Bamerhage. I've been in Clay County for about 11 years. And man, I'm not perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes. Nobody in this room's perfect. But I haven't heard anybody say, I dropped the ball. I'm going to recover from it. I take the blame. There's not a sign in here that says the buck stops here. You've been talking about a vendor that hasn't been doing their job effectively. We haven't heard if there's any fines or penalties in the contract on that. We don't know if there's been incompetence communicating with the vendor, but the vendor's not here to represent themselves, so we just have half of the story. This gentleman said right here he hadn't even been updated. This gal right here said she was told in 2023 this was a done deal. But we don't want to point the finger at anybody. I don't care if you make a mistake, it's how you recover. You got a lot of people here that are all up in arms because their property taxes inflated. Man, my house is worth twice as much as it was. But you're looking at people that can't afford the property tax in some situations that are losing their house, and we need help here. So we come to you guys, we don't expect perfection, but say, hey, I made a mistake. Let's raise the red flag, all hands on board to fix this. Here we are, and we don't even have a tax bill yet. And we don't even have is it gonna be done before Christmas? Well, I hope so. What answer is better than that in 2023? I can keep giving the same answer. Somebody's gotta say, I dropped the ball. Somebody did. We didn't push the vendor hard enough. We didn't get answers from the vendor. We didn't penalize the vendor. What's going on, guys? You can do better than that.
Actually,
you guys are running a county.
Actually, I did say that when we were discussing the extension, I said, clearly the county dropped the ball.
Yes, sir.
That is why the rationale behind the extension, which is in a way the practical application of not charging interest and penalties on late bills when it is the county's fault. So I said, since this is clearly on the county, I'm not pointing at any individual person, because we need to solve the problem first, then we can figure out the blame. But first, let's clean up the mess before we start pointing fingers. But the thing is, I did say that. And I'll say it again, and that is, yeah, we dropped the ball on some things. That is where we are at, and we are working to try to fix it.
All right.
I'm sorry, we have two other comments, so don't run off yet.
Okay.
Commissioner Wagner.
taking the blame is a tough thing to do, and I'll take it to the extent that, in my complicitness, although it was taking the reports. But I'm going to say something, Dieta is a brave soul because she rose her hand and said it was me.
Yeah.
So don't say no one in here did it. She did it. Not once, not twice, not 3 times, but more than that. We rely on staff and their professional ability to get the job done. It didn't work out this time.
And it's not going to work out every time either. There's
And
gonna be
it's
bugs.
not. And I would also say, there's an old saying that I live by, the enemy of the good is perfect. And to be good, to try to do something timely, clearly we were not perfect. And so your comments are well taken, but I don't want anybody in this room or anybody watching to think that we sit here being blameless. I don't want anybody in this room or anybody watching to think that we had this all figured out. Because if you want to know where I assign my blame, it is to the state of Missouri for trying to give everyone some hope that they can provide tax relief without not thinking through how that was going to be done. And that got assigned to us.
So where does the buck stop?
Today and tonight, the buck stops here. But I'm going to tell you that had the state done their job correctly, after trying not once, but twice, they basically said to every county, you figure it out. And the decision that we are guilty of making, that I will accept, is that when it was said, it'll cost you $4.5 million to get a system in here.
When was that said? In 2023?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Ms. Lawson said?
we're going back to that time. $4.5 million to get that right. Now, there are those who would say, well, why didn't you just pay the $4.5 million? But I'll guarantee you, in 2023 or 2024 or this year, if I said to a group of taxpayers, we're going to spend $4.5 million on a system that isn't going to be used for roads, isn't going to be used for sheriff's deputies, I know 99 times out of 100 what I would hear. And that is,
No.
that's a waste of money. Guaranteed. Now, I'm raising my voice. I don't know why I'm raising my voice,
Where are we at now?
but sir, I understand your frustration. I understand the frustration of everyone in this room. I understand that because, hey, my parents are going to get the very same problem because they're on SB 192 in Clay County. So I understand. But I also have to say, when everyone wants their relief as soon as they can get it, when they can't perhaps wait another year to get to perfect, what you get is good. And unfortunately, in this case, there's $4.5 million worth of perfect that we didn't purchase. And that's why you're here tonight. And I helped make that decision to not spend $4.5 million. So if you want to know where the buck stops on that one stops with me. And I'll accept it because I made that decision.
I'm glad you own it.
But as far as who's taking blame for tonight, there's a wonderful woman right back there who took it multiple times, and I thank you for that. And all we can do, to the presiding commissioner's point, is now to try to fix it.
Is there a reason why nobody from the vendor was here to represent themselves
I
tonight?
have no idea. And even if they did, would they give you a satisfactory answer?
Hear their side of the story?
Well, let me say this. Let me ask you this. Would there have been any answer they would have provided to you tonight that would have satisfied you?
Well, I haven't heard any answer, so I couldn't answer that.
Well,
Depends on what they tell us.
Well,
If we haven't been getting cooperation, we've been stonewalled, they could say whatever they want, but we don't know their side of the story. So
That
we
would
don't
be
have any further answers, so I can't answer that question.
well, I appreciate that, and I can't answer that either. All I know is all of you are here tonight because you are not satisfied. And the only thing I can say to you is, if you're asking the one question about where does the buck stop, I've tried to answer that as best I can.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson.
Okay. 23, the governor signed the bill, okay? And immediately after it was signed, we went into action. I led that fight. And I said, let's get a committee together, let's get this started, let's do it once, do it right. Everybody came together, every office, almost every office holder, and we had great meetings. We plotted everything out, thought everything was going to be great. When the 5 million came up, and if you remember, did you come to our meetings that we held where we explained?
No, ma'am.
Okay, what we did was we went out into the county. Dieta, me, I went to every meeting but one. We had our treasurer there. We had I think every office holder came just to be there in case there were questions. We let everybody ask questions. We explained exactly how this was going to work. One of the slides that we gave at that presentation, and we did, God, I don't know, 20, Deanna, do you know how many we did? 13. Yeah, over 30. Anyway, in every one, the slide said, to do this properly, $5 million. And I thought, as did the majority of us, that was going to be something that we looked at. When the option came to us that our existing company could solve the problem, we took them at their word. And we've dealt with these people a long time. So actually, that was our fault for, not holding their feet to the fire. None of us, save Jason, are overly computer literate. He is an expert. But we all thought that everything was being handled properly. Now, when we talk about the 5 million, I can tell you that I've sat here and lost my mind over some of the money that we have spent on studies and other things. We just spent $5 million to build the sheriff a new law enforcement center. Now, it's going to be profitable and it was needed, but I'm saying we didn't halt when that $5 million was asked of us. Why in the hell did we halt when the $5 million was asked about the software upgrade? We should have done it, and I'm firm on that. But I will take the blame, as has Commissioner Wagner. I should have been there beating them in the head saying, we want the new software, we want the new software. 2 years, think about that. 23, we started the ball rolling. 24, 25, 2 solid darn years that we have been investigating and saying, have you got it ready yet? We are almost there. We have to do this, we have to do that. We should have said the hell with that.
Yes,
Get the
ma'am.
new software and let's get on down the road.
If you got someone saying they need 5 million, but we don't have the 5 million, that's a flag right there. It's just not gonna happen.
We've got the 5 million.
Well, we didn't spend it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you know there's a problem. Somebody says, well, I can fix this with a magic wand.
We've
Just
got to do
Let
it.
me keep pushing the ball down the road, and now we're here.
Exactly,
So-
and that's exactly what's going to happen. Everybody's on board to get things done for you. I'm a senior. You can tell by all the little wrinkles on my face. And I'll tell you that I'm not happy about the way it's going.
Thank you.
For myself personally.
Thank you.
So I know how all of you feel.
All right.
So I understand your frustration, I do. But just hang with us because the bills will go out shortly. You'll have your bill. You'll have your 30-day grace period to get it paid, just like you always do. And then just like we've asked our administrator and Dieta and everybody else, keep us in the loop.
Yeah.
So if something isn't going right, we can start kicking Fanny and taking names. So, bear with us, and I sincerely apologize for the delays this has caused, but we're going to make it right, and it's going to be perfect, because next year we're going to have a new group of people that apply for it, and we're going to have to be ready to take care of all of you.
Yes, ma'am.
So, anyway, I do apologize, and I'll
Thank you.
take the blame.
Thank you.
I want to also follow up on Commissioner Wagner's comments, and that is, yes, as a group, we bear culpability because we set budgets. In fact, we're in that process right now. For that reason, yes, we do bear some of the responsibility. Certainly, we need to acknowledge our share of it. One of the things that I also I'm in entire agreement with is Dieta and the rest of the staff, everybody else, and that is there's basically three things I think we can ask of one another when it comes to when things don't go right. First thing is to acknowledge that there was a problem. Dieta and everyone else has done that, to work to repair the problem, and then to try our level best to not repeat that problem. I think that's about all you can ask of anybody. That is, and I think that the staff has done a great job because you're right, standing up here and coming up with the explanation and explaining the timeline and how things did not go as hoped or as for whatever reason is a very difficult thing to do. Quite honestly, the staff has my admiration for basically being adults, coming up and making sure that they were able to give us that explanation. It might have been easier for them to dodge it a bit, but they came up and they acknowledged what had happened, and they have a plan to try to rectify it. And the point is, it is going to be fixed. That's what we're here for. And you know, it may take us a little while. We certainly would request your patience as we go through this, but we're trying to do this as quickly as possible. And we did try to mitigate a lot of this stuff. I'm not the only commissioner who went down to Jeff City knocking on doors saying, the first version is not exactly the best example of well-crafted legislation that we've ever seen. And to their credit, you know, we did get some progress made. However, it is a complicated process. We are trying our best to correct the errors that were made. And like I say, I think, you know, Dieta, Randy, and the rest of them are just doing a great job of what a public official should be doing, and that is acknowledging a situation, explaining it in clear, concise language. And I got to tell you, I have great confidence as they go forward that anything that they see as ways to improve their performance, they will be implementing. It's not necessary for any of us here to say, hey, you guys got to step up your game. These people are very much acutely aware of the fact that we always have to strive for improving, and they have my admiration for the way they comported themselves this evening. Do you have any other? I didn't mean to pile on or anything.
I'm going to get out of here because there's other people need to talk. But I want to thank you for you guys putting your heads together to try to get this figured out as quick as we can. I know it's a mess now. Last thing in closing, I watched that PowerPoint, and month after month after month after month, we're pushing the ball down the road. We're working on it. We're working on it. We're working on it. They're assuming they're working on it. You're assuming they're working on it. But man, back in July or August, after you hear that so many times, the red flags should have went up and all the alarms went off, and now we're here and we don't have any answers. Hopefully it's a learning experience.
One thing I would take a little bit of exception with what you said is we are putting our heads together. It is important that you are here saying what you're saying. It's not us putting our heads together. It's all of us putting our heads together. And I appreciate you being here and expressing something that needs to be heard and needs to be said.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you, sir. Representative?
Good evening. Mark Myers, State Representative, and I do appreciate you guys rapidly getting this on the agenda. So I'm not going to bore you with what Commissioner Johnson already said. There's been a lot of time invested in this. It's very complicated. Once you start running down, two other things pop up. What about this? What about that? Are we in Hancock? What about this other part of the Constitution? So it's very complicated, but it's very easy as far as what we can go through tonight in a compact time. The seniors were promised a tax cut, and they got a portion of the tax cut. Agreed, the bill should have said one way or another legislation. Admit to that wholly. But the intent was to give them a full tax break. a credit. We're not wiping away what the seniors owe, just a cap. It can't go up from here to there. So this is not going to be Armageddon. To you, sir, on the bond, the bond market looks at between 6 and 9% of the overall taxation. So, and what that means is a debt to income, basically, which we all know about when we're going through mortgages or car payments. They look at how much you make, how much you owe, and then they define the rate. So it's not going to be Armageddon. And where I come off on this is when there's gray areas, let's default to the taxpayer, not to the government. Let's take the taxpayer and go, okay, we'll err on your side, now let's look at it. So that's all I want to say. I'm not going to, I know there's other people that are going to do, but.
There's a couple more, but one thing that I do want to acknowledge, while the legislation, nothing is perfect, and there were flaws in it for, because it's a product of human effort. But what I think is important for us to keep in mind, that the legislature was trying to do something positive for the seniors in this state.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think while we may have different ways of approaching this problem, we all have the same goal. And as we approach this from different directions, there are going to be inconsistencies and things that need to be reconciled, and
Sure.
This would be one of them. And I appreciate you being down there in Jeff City along with the rest of our delegation down there, because I know that that's what's in your heart to do. Commissioner
It's
Wagner.
for the money.
Commissioner?
Thank you. Well, and Representative, since we make what you make, I couldn't agree less. But anyway, I do want to thank you for being here this evening, and I hope my comments related to what Jefferson City left us is understandable.
I agree.
I figured you did, but one of your comments is well taken. I want to just expand on it just a moment as you talk about when you buy things and the loans and that sort of thing, because I think in terms of bonding with coverage ratios. And it seems to me that when people put out, when jurisdictions put out bonds, you're already assuming a certain coverage ratio, and in my opinion, you don't put that out when you're this close to not being able to make it, because no one would buy that bond because of that.
Or go to junk, right?
Right. I mean, it's junk at that point, right?
Sure.
So I as we've discussed that particular clause that we have that others do not, your point is well taken. I just want to speak to it to say it is one reason why the intent that I think the state had with this kind of overwhelms some of these other pieces. Having said that, we talk about assignment of blame and thinking a little bit before. My thinking was on that particular thing, if someone voted to raise their taxes to do a bond, well, that makes sense to me. You got to protect it because voters said yes. If they did not, then to me that's a different kettle of fish and kind of gets into what you were talking about. So
Sure.
Anyway, thank you again for being here this evening. I know a lot of folks want to speak, but I want to get your comment.
Okay, one other thing, if I may. When we started diving into it, I started looking at the counties that gave the complete and total package to the
Right.
Jackson,
Yeah.
Boone, Greene, St. Louis. Now, these are not bastions of cutting taxes, right? This is and they did it.
Yeah.
Ben Keithley got mentioned. I think Jay mentioned Ben. They did the same thing that Clay and Platt did, and he went to their committee meeting, and they voted 7-0 to include it. St. Louis County did. So I think in this case, there's a lot to be learned about and St. Charles also approved the total.
Well, and it's a reminder, because you mentioned Jackson County, again, I mentioned my friendship with the Jackson County collector there.
Sure.
And asked him this very question, why did you do it? And the answer was, and hopefully he's not watching or else he'll blame me for saying it, but basically it was that Jackson County did not want to be the bad guy. And if there were some that felt strongly, another jurisdiction that felt strongly enough to preserve that bond obligation, then they were welcome to sue the county.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes, I hate to say it, but sometimes you go to the courts to find out what's law and what is not. And Jackson County took that chance, and so far, no one sued them yet. So your point's well taken, sir. Thank you.
I see no other comments, so, excuse me, Commissioner Johnson.
Not a comment, I just want to say thank you to you and to Representative Mike Jones, who spent a lot of time with me, kind of educating me on some of this stuff and kind of helping me through this process as well. It's very complicated. We're kind of simplifying it here, but it's so much, and as well as our auditor, Victor Hurlbert. Well, thank you, I appreciate it.
I will say this to close my comments is the relationship that Mike and I are best friends. Our offices are right next to each other. We share the same house in Jeff City together. We ride together in a lot of different areas. We talk all the time. Mike is at odds with his commissioners. I'm not. I am very, very thankful for that everybody's willing to sit down and talk and discuss, and nobody's threatening anybody with anything. So I thank you for that.
By the way, as long as you're here, I don't want to one more thing you to death here. But certainly something I think that I can speak for the entire commission on, and that is we want to enhance that relationship with our delegation to Jefferson City. We need to be working hand in glove if we're really going to serve the people. So I appreciate you being here this evening, and we certainly appreciate any contacts that you have. So please feel free to reach out to any of us. And I know that we all feel the ability that we could reach out to you with any issues that we have of concern in Jefferson City.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next citizen, please. Please come forward, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Carmen McGuire. I'm an employee now of Clay County. I'm the P-card administrator. Right now, Mr. Wagner, you're my favorite commissioner because you took the words out of my mouth. I started with SB 190 through a temp agency. I need a lot of guidance. You need to tell me I need this, and then you get this. The outcome can only be as good as the input. We didn't have no input. We were improvising. So I was telling people, if you look at your tax bill, anything that's not a debt can be locked in. You lock in the dollar amount. Anything that's a debt will go according to your appraisal. That's all we had. And all the nitty-gritty, how can we explain it if we don't get the input? And I'm not 62 yet, just a few years from it, but as soon as I'm 62, you're late with my bill, I don't care. You can send it whenever you want to, but you have to have that stipulation in there that says 30 days. I have 30 days to pay. If you send it in April, you will not see it in April. This is what I'm seeing. So I think the problem is more like not necessarily the computer program. I don't care what program you use. If my bill's late, that's my money, less interest. I can deal with it. Use the program, whatever it is. Dieta's been going nuts, going left and right, getting all kinds of information, puzzling it together, knitting it, presenting it, and then next day we come to sign up people, things have changed. No, now we do this. Oh, there's a trust, and then there's different. You have to have a law degree for a temp agency to sign up for SB 190, because everybody has different issues. I just have a house. I'm married too young. My husband's 61. We couldn't lock it in just yet. But as soon as he's 62, we will lock it in. And we will not have, well, we will have a trust. So now I'm going to come, do I have to have a trust? Do I have to have a notary? When I sign back up, how do I notarize it? Do I pay somebody under the table, give me a stamp? Or how do I do this? And it's very stressful if the rules are interpreted different and change from day to day, and you have to tell your staff how things are changing. And it's rough. So you don't need, don't send me a text bill at all, I don't care, but if it's late, just make sure the 30 days are in. And the computer program, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. You use if it's cheaper to do it handish, and it's correct, and it takes another 6 months, have at it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, and we appreciate the job you do.
Anytime.
Great. Next citizen.
My name is Rhonda Smith. I've been a resident of Clay County for probably 34 years. Just very quickly, if you do amend the ordinance, which I'm going to email you all tomorrow and let you know that I would like for you to do that for us. But if you do, I would like to ask if you could backdate that to the previous year of freezing the taxes to the previous year, not the year that they're adding the bond to us. Does that make sense? Okay. And then I'm with her. Take as long as you would like to send us our bill. We're not in any hurry. Thank you.
Hold on a moment, please. Ms. Smith? Commissioner Johnson, I think, was wanting to engage.
Yeah, I think the county councilor commented on this earlier, but I would love to be able to go back and backdate this, but I don't think that's actually feasible. I don't think we can do that. You see the problems we're having now, getting these bills out. The ordinance that we have in effect now that excludes the debt liability, that's a legal ordinance. So that was within our purview to create, although knowing what we know now, we probably wouldn't have. But the fact is we did, so we can't say these were illegal taxes or whatever, everything like that. So, and when we did this, we made it clear, hey, this could be impacted, the debt, the bond debt part of it. So, although I think we'd love to go back and reduce that, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think that's even feasible. I just don't think we can do that. And I don't know if there's going to be what kind of increase there will be at all in this one, if there is any. I don't know if we had, I don't know the answer to that. But hopefully there's not. But if there is, I don't think there's any way that we can go back and...
So it shouldn't be too much.
Say again?
It shouldn't be too much of an increase then.
Yeah, I'm hoping
I don't think
not.
the last one was much of an increase anyway.
But I just wanted to be clear with everybody, because you brought up a good point, and if people are expecting that, there's no way, I don't think we could undertake that, nor would we desire to do that. Yeah, so if we didn't make the change, it'd be going forward.
Right.
Yeah, going forward. That's what I'm going to propose anyway.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Commissioner Wagner?
Thank you. First, good to see you, Rhonda. And Marcus, I see you back there causing trouble. I want to echo that it is problematic to go backward. I will just point out, as we've used Jackson County previously in conversation as something to perhaps emulate, which I thought I would never say in my life. So write this date down. But one of the other interesting things that they have promised, which kind of speaks to what you're talking about, and it'd be very interesting to see, is they have talked about their past assessments, their past billings, and how they might go back and provide relief for past taxing. And I just throw that out there to say, there's been a lot of experimentation already with this, right? And we have some good things and other things. I would certainly suggest that if Jackson County figures out a way to go back with and relieve people from their high taxes, then it may suggest a path for us to do exactly what you're suggesting. But the answer to it is not as apparent as we would like. But someone seems to be trying, so let's see if they can figure it out or have some mistakes, and maybe we learn from those. But just wanted to set a little bit of expectation and perhaps a little bit of hope.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next citizen, please, who'd like to comment, please come forward, sir.
Hi, my name's Raymond Atkinson. First of all, I want to thank Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Nolte. I found out about this meeting this morning. I sent emails. Both your offices responded. For a lowly taxpayer, that was very impressive to get answers back. And I felt like, wow, they do listen to people. I really didn't come here to complain about anything. I've lived in Jackson County for many, many years. I like the idea of following closely as they look at their assessments. I think that's a good idea to get ahead of the game. I lived in Arapahoe County, Colorado for many years. They passed their senior citizens discount years ago. Consequently, my taxes out there in Denver, Colorado were much less than they are here because they'd already done that years ago. So anything to try to get anywhere close to that's a good thing. So my main desire was to say, please pursue it as soon as you can, eliminating the bond exemption, and please get it done. Hopefully, I know we can't do it this year, but please make sure it's done and everybody's notified that it is in effect for next year, so everybody gets plenty of advance notice on the thing. But other than that, like I said, Jackson County, Missouri, Arapahoe County, Colorado, I have no complaints with Clay County, Missouri. And thanks again for responding.
Thank you. And by the way, my expectation is we will be moving on this with some haste, not over haste, certainly with deliberation, but with no undue delays.
Right.
Okay. I believe the consensus is to take action as soon as it can be done.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, sir. Next citizen, please.
Hi, Stephanie Pumphrey, and I've lived here all my life.
Could you speak up just a bit more, please?
I'm short.
Oh, go ahead and pull the mic towards you. There you go.
Stephanie Pumphrey, and I just wanted to say, probably unlike a lot of people, I'd like to set a deadline for when either the software is going to be able to be available to do it, or we get a hand bill. I don't care how we get it, but I'd like to pay my taxes by the end of the year so that it doesn't affect next year. You know, I mean, when I don't know all the laws and everything about taxes, real estate taxes, but usually I put that on my taxes for the IRS, and I want to make sure that that's paid when it needs to be paid in order to do that. And maybe somebody else knows that information. I don't. I have a tax man that tells me. But I just want to make sure that things like that are all taken care of before the end of the year, because some people take vacation and leave town to get out of the snow. And if I'm not going to be here to get my bill, I can't pay it. And then I'm going to be in penalty because it may be longer than the time that's going to be allotted to me to get it paid. And I think all that needs to be taken into consideration, and I appreciate you all taking that into consideration. And I want to say thank you so much for all the hard work that's been done on this. Thank you for all your hours you've put in, because I've been in situations like this before where somebody tells you they're going to get something done and they don't, and it's not necessarily your fault, but it falls back on you anyway. And I just would like to say I hope that you will get the other issue taken care of for us also. And thank you for your time.
By the way, if you could hold on for just a moment, Commissioner Wagner, I think wanted to chime in.
So not necessarily a question, but I thought if Barbara's around here somewhere, maybe Dieta, you can answer this perhaps. Don't know about the time frame, because I think we've kind of established that that's kind of a moving target, but it does strike me that I believe we do allow citizens the ability to estimate and potentially prepay. And so my question, Dieta, if you wish to take it, is if part of the issue that I'm hearing is I want to be able to itemize my taxes, therefore I want to be able to make this payment in this tax year. Yes. Is it possible to make a payment, and I will be the first to say it may end up not being the right amount, but if the issue is you want to be able to get that itemization opportunity, I'm just wondering if we can do a kind of an estimate and prepay scenario, and I see them both in the back conferring about that. So maybe they may not have that answer for me in a timely manner, but it does strike me that maybe that might be a way, no matter what happens, that you're able to get what you're looking for. Yeah. And I'll do a dramatic pause to see if one of them wants to come up. And
Well, I can also say that I really appreciate the emails.
yeah. Well, that's all That's all administrator right
Yes.
there. I give it to him. There you go.
Yeah.
All right, which one of you want to answer that question? Did you rock, paper, scissors it, or what?
Well, I would defer to the subject matter expert. We are trying to figure out if, since there isn't.
Oh, come
Deanna
forward.
Jacobs, Administrative Services Director. We are trying to figure out how that would work, if we maybe did a prepayment kind of thing. I don't know about a receipt that could be given.
We would give a receipt, but it wouldn't be a tax receipt, and it probably wouldn't be for the correct tax dollars. So I don't know, you would have to defer to your tax man if that is something that you would be able to use on your taxes at that time, without it being the exact dollar amount.
Yeah, I assumed the dollar amount could be different, but I just wonder.
He's paying something.
She's paying something, and so she can show that she has paid the county a tax, right? But for some reason, I thought you could do some prepayment so that
We do. Generally, those are between March 1 and September 30th. We do have some prepayments still sitting off to the side for parcels that are SB 190 that we have not yet applied, but we do have them.
And is that, I'm sorry to interject, but is that an administrative decision, or is that guided by state law, county ordinance, or something like that?
I believe a previous collector brought it to the commission and was given the ability to do that.
Okay. Well, thank you. And I guess I would say, Mr. Administrator, still got a couple weeks left in this year, and if that is something that we could do, I think there's something that suggests that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I agree.
Very good. Yeah.
We will look into that and figure out what steps we take.
Sounds
And then
good.
communicate not only with you all first, then with the citizens regarding that.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate you bringing up that issue.
Just a moment, I think Commissioner Withington was seeking recognition. Commissioner?
I just had a question for Little Johnson when it was after they were talking.
Say again?
I said I had a question for Little Johnson. That's an inside joke between us. He calls me Little J. I call him Little Johnson.
Let's let that one go.
Thank you. I think that concludes. By the way, I noticed that there are some individuals leaving at this moment, so I want to say something before too many more people get away, and that is we certainly appreciate you being here this evening, and certainly show up for subsequent meetings. Don't be a stranger. You're always welcome here, and your input is of great value to us. So before many other people leave because of other commitments or the lateness of the hour, I did want to express that thought on behalf of the commission. Commissioner Carpenter.
Thank you. Yes, just while we're still on this discussion item, future meeting in which we would discuss or do an ordinance proposal to change the rules around the bond indebtedness. Obviously, there's some sort of detail and nuance in all that, and it does impact the taxing jurisdictions that receive the money. And so, if I could, County Administrator, I'd like to request that we make sure we extend invitations to the taxing jurisdictions, make sure they know that meeting's happening, so that if they have, any contributions to that discourse, that they're able to come and make it.
I think that is a great point to make. In fact, at the beginning of this process, I was with the auditor, and we went to see some of the school districts and some of those entities because we thought it was important to hear their input as we prepared to broach this subject. And yes, I think that is very important that we make sure that they are made aware of these potential changes. And as with our citizens, certainly we want to hear their thoughts.
Hey, Jerry.
On where we go. Yes,
Jerry,
Commissioner, hold on. You're on. Okay,
you
go ahead.
skipped over me. You skipped over me. You said if I had a question for them, I said no, I had a question for him, and then you called on John. Jay, when were you planning on bringing this up?
Oh, excuse me. There you go.
So I think the way our process works is this is part of the discussion here. I was going to make a recommendation that we bring it back. I don't care when we're going to bring a recommendation on what to bring back, which is basically just to strike section A1 from our current ordinance.
Were you thinking about next week?
That'd be great, as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, I won't be here next week, but I just wanted to say I'm in favor of this, but I just won't be here next week. My daughter has a choir concert, so I'll be there, but she's more important. But I just want to say, I just wanted to go on the record and say I'm in favor of this, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And as far as the timing on it, I'd like to get it done, but it really doesn't going to impact anything till next year.
Well, that's what I was gonna ask if we
Exactly
could
so.
wait till, because I think next week's the last meeting before we adjourn. Oh, we have 2 more? Okay. So if we can do it, not next week, but the following week?
That'd be the 18th, I believe.
Yeah, because Damon will be gone too. So if we do it, not next week, but the following week, would that work?
Fine with me, whatever everybody else wants.
And the thing is, yeah, I had a short sidebar with Commissioner Johnson, and what I was suggesting, since he had done a lot of the upfront work, that he go ahead and make the proposal to establish a consensus of the group. I think we certainly want to make sure staff feels comfortable with the time and the information they have before going forward, and I would certainly like to see Commissioner Carpenter's suggestion incorporated into that consensus.
Would we
There you
need
go.
to also bring in the road districts, John? Road districts and any other taxing jurisdictions?
My preference would be to do a wide swath invitation out to any taxing jurisdiction that could be impacted. I mean, certainly when we're talking about already borrowed money, right, already incurred debt, we need to make sure we, as we say, dot all the i's, cross all the t's before we make any changes with
'cause
regard.
I know last
and make
time
sure
we
they're all
included the fire districts and, the road districts and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I think might as well send out the email to the fire districts and everybody, and whoever wants to come can come and share their thoughts.
I think extending the invitation, and they may well choose to do that through email or some other method rather than being here in person, but certainly their awareness that we are taking this up is, I think, the main point. Commissioner Wagner, I think you had something you wanted to add.
Yes, thank you. I just, since you walked right back in the room, I just want to make sure that her point and the point we discussed, you're fine. Go ahead and sit down. You're my prop, I'm sorry. Since the issue that she's raised and that we discussed around being able to do some sort of payment before the end of the year is a very pressing one, because we do only have 2 issues. I just want to make sure that we're tracking all of the issues, and so whether, I just want to make sure that one's still in the mix, because if you go past January 1, then that doesn't really help her out, or anybody else who may have been looking to itemize. So just don't want to forget that point. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Auditor, if you'd like to go ahead, and then I want to make sure, how many more citizens would like to make comment? Okay, so we got 2, at least, that I see. So after the auditor comments, please come forward and be prepared to make your statements. Mr. Auditor.
1 second, Presiding Commissioner. I just want to
Oh,
make sure I got
excuse me, yes, sir.
Commissioner Carpenter's request. Was that to invite or to get a financial impact from those taxing districts?
So to invite them, although would love for them to offer forth, any data that they have, it can only help the informed decision.
Yes, Mr. Auditor.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, good. Please.
Yes, Victor Hurlbert, Clay County Auditor. Something I just want to add to the conversation to really make this this change impactful. Another glaring hole in our ordinance, as well as the statute itself, 137-1050, is it does not address what happens when there's a voter-approved tax increase, if it's an operational levy or a tax levy. And so,
Could you speak just a little bit more loudly, please?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. So I would just, advise that we also address the issue of a voter-approved tax increase. To the earlier discussion, a debt levy is a voter-approved general obligation debt levy. So it's a specific levy that has a separate calculation. It's called the Form C. It's a state auditor office calculation. And so it is a voter-approved. So the question for us would become, if we apply debt to the senior tax credit, but then there's a vote. There are many voter-approved tax issuances in April, for example. Our current read and interpretation in our ordinance is that we would make the increase to the base because of the voter-approved increase. So that's often how debt increases. Otherwise, it's a stable, amortization schedule. So I would just advise that we also address that issue of basically ignoring, future vote increases, or applying them if you'd like. But maybe address that issue head on specifically, because that kind of runs hand in hand with the debt calculation. To Commissioner Carpenter's point, I did want to mention We have ran numbers on the fiscal impact. There are 16 political subdivisions that have debt levies in Clay County. And this is just big numbers, so I think if in the future meeting, I'm happy to come and give more detailed information. But you know, where we sit right now, we were required by November 30th to provide a report to all the political subdivisions of the fiscal impact of the actual credits. And so that total was $3.2 million. That averages, when you look at about 17,000 parcels, to about $190 a household in tax relief in parcels. So the change in the debt, because of voter-approved debt and other debt levies, is about $1.9 million. So by the fiscal impact of making this change is that the total increase would go to about $5.1, $5.2 million. And the average increase then is about $300 of tax relief. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of give that high level terms of what this actually means for seniors as your auditor. But I would just recommend, from what I'm seeing and how I'm even going to be able to interpret this policy going forward in these tax bills, is how do we address when the voters approve a tax change? Thanks.
Commissioner Wagner, did you have
Thank you. I just want to say I appreciate the auditor bringing that up, because to me that, when we originally talked about it, that is how I interpreted it, as voter-approved taxation, in which case didn't have a problem with that. But I think it's a very important issue, because there's a lot of difference that comes due to that. So I just want to thank you for bringing that up, and I look forward to more discussion. Thank you.
Next citizen who'd like to comment, please.
Good evening, Chuck Farkas, Kearney, Missouri, Central Committeeman.
Thank you.
I have to repeat that? I feel a little bit confused. I appreciate everything I've heard tonight about the delays and the complications of putting this together. Don't quite understand that. I know it's complicated. I appreciate that. That's not why I came here today. I came here because I heard that SB 190 was not going to be the bill that I thought it was going to be. And that was a tax relief in all areas. So people have been using several sayings tonight, so I've got one. The small print taketh away what the big print giveth, and that's how I feel about this situation. I don't think there should be any exceptions. And on a side comment, I stood in front of this group 3 years ago or so, saying the problems in our country was because of me, because I was never involved, and that's why I became involved. And I reached out to every person here with an email with my concerns, and I've got a compliment. Thank you, Jay, for returning with an answer. I thank you.
Thank you. Next citizen, please.
Jackie Thorstensen. I'm a Clay County resident and a constituent and property owner. First of all, I want to hand it to Dieta for owning it tonight. I think I had no idea we were going to have this discussion. I came, as Chuck did, to talk about eliminating the bond exception. But I think you almost had to go this route. She's got a can-do attitude. You couldn't just sign up and spend $4.5 to $6 million. So I think you did it the right way, and you got to just press forward to get the perfection now. And so thank you, Dieta, for the work and your whole team has put in. And Joanne, I think you're on to something as far as if we're going to go with the send, when they do an RFP or whatever it is, that maybe they can negotiate some discounts or whatever credits for the future big package. I gave a handout to the county clerk earlier. It's life expectancy. It was just a thought I came up with today. It was pretty surprising. It was only 74.6 6 years is the life expectancy here in Missouri. I tried to narrow it down to Clay County, but the information I gave you is across all 115 counties or 114 counties here in Missouri. That's not a real long time from 62 to 74. It's just a few years. It's not 20, 30 years of free handout on the freeze. In fact, it's not even a free handout, it's just a freeze. So I wanted to make light of that. And then I also wanted, one of the other thoughts I had today was going back to our District 21 senator at the time, Denny Hoskins. He's now our Secretary of State. I was able to reach his office and get a statement from his office today. And I sent it to each of you in your email, but I'll read it for the public here. It's from Secretary Hoskins' office. When I served in the Senate, my intent was straightforward. I wanted every senior in the 21st District and across Missouri to receive a full 100% real property tax freeze on their qualifying primary residence. I meant for that freeze to be complete without exceptions for things like bond repayments or other reasons. My goal then, as now, is to provide real, reliable relief for Missouri seniors and to honor the will of the voters who count on us to protect those on fixed incomes. So I think that's pretty powerful. I think it's almost a silver bullet. And in closing, I want to thank Commissioner Johnson for framing the background information and the work you've done with Mike Jones. I think we're ahead of it still here, even though we may be backtracking on eliminating this from the ordinance, the bond or the exception, but it's Platte County that's dealing with it as a real-time issue. We haven't, I don't think, well, I guess there's the 16 subdivisions that the auditor just mentioned, but for the most part, I think we're still ahead of the program here and resolving these issues. I think they're just little toe stubs and we got to work through them. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to come forward and comment? Seeing none. Commissioner Johnson, I'm sorry. Oh, I apologize. I did not see you. Please come forward.
Touch, okay. All right, I guess I'm a kind of, what's the bottom line here? Trying to understand what's happening. And do I understand correctly that there's a new 5.1 million debt incurred because of this delay in the, okay, totally off then. That my concern is that we take, that we don't have this government mentality where it's other people's money. And oh, well, we just lost a bunch of money because we had 3 years of delay that nobody cared enough about to act on. And someone says, oh yeah, I'll call you back, and doesn't call back it never calls back your business that's doing this. So it's like going forward, how are we administratively organized so that there are costs to delays and to work that's put down, you know, if I work with bureaucracy all the time and I call them every day. What's the situation now? And who's overseeing that? And who's making sure that we're pushing for the answers that the taxpayers are paying for? You know, that's my question, I guess, and that's my angst.
Thank you. Any other citizens wishing to come forward? Seeing none. Commissioner Johnson, I think that you had wanted to outline a possible course of action. So what we will do, just for those of you who are here, we're going to have a discussion where we are going to come to some consensus on what we would like staff to present to us to draft the whatever changes in ordinance that we indicate to them. and give them instruction, and then we will take this up at the point when we have those matters before us, hopefully in a very short time. But Commissioner Johnson?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. So in regard to the bonded debt obligations, my suggestion to the rest of the commission is that we send this to our county administrator to bring this back to us. And what our current ordinance says at the very beginning under A, scope, it says the following limitations shall restrict the Clay County senior property tax credit as follows. And number one, section one, A1 is what I would like to see eliminated. A1 says the Clay County senior property tax credit shall not apply to property tax levies for bonded debt obligations pursuant to the Missouri Constitution, Article 10, Section 11E and 22. My recommendation is that we just simply strike that sentence, A1, from our ordinance. Bring it back for discussion, allow any other taxing entities, authorities that want to have any input on that, certainly discuss that with us, and then put it up for an up or down vote and see where we get.
Thank you, Commissioner. I think that's, given the discussion and given the extensive time that we've spent on it, which I think is time well spent, quite honestly, that is pretty much in a nutshell, and it incorporates Commissioner Carpenter's recommendations, which I think are solid ones. Are there any other comments? And what I'm looking for now is just bringing me, if nothing else, just head nods, that this is the consensus to go forward in this. Fine, Commissioner? All right, we seem to have unanimous consent to go forward under those circumstances. Mr. Administrator, do you feel you have the information you need to make progress on this?
I do.
Very good.
We're looking forward. I will reach out to the 16 jurisdictions that currently have a debt levy, and those who also may potentially look at that as going to future vote, going back to our bond council, mentioning that as well. And then give them the opportunity, make mention that it'll be in the December 18th meeting. If they want to have somebody represent them to come to speak to that, that'll be a good time to come.
Yes, Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I might ask, Mr. Administrator, as you have that conversation, just going back to what the auditor said a few moments ago, it may only matter to me, and that's fine, but I would like to know, as far as those bond issuances are concerned, what was voter approved and what was not, to the extent that that is information that is possible to get. I see a difference, which in the end may not, I may completely go with what has been suggested directly. But I would like to know, because in my mind, there's a difference. It would at least be good to know.
Are you wanting to include that in the ordinance we take up?
Well, no, I
This will be
would like,
separate information.
well, I think when we get to discussion of what the commissioner has suggested, I don't want to mess with that, but I think as part of our overall discussion, I think it would be good to know. Because there may be none, there may be some. But to the earlier conversation related to bond issuance, sometimes that vote and what comes from that is relied upon when the bond is issued, sometimes not. Just would like to know. It may have no overall bearing, but as this group knows, I like little stuff like that, and so I'd like to know.
I assume that was what you meant, but I want to make sure we provided clarity.
And I'm not sure, that's fine. I mean, because the other thing, I'm not sure myself, as far as which ones have it, because you couldn't take a vote and not set your debt levy just yet. So
right, but I guess what I'm going back to and what I'm trying to understand, those authorizations can come a couple of ways. One is just the legislative body of that jurisdiction just decides we're going to put out a bond, and there's nothing that necessarily backs that other than the credit of the jurisdiction. I'm kind of going to that KC GeoBond example of there was actually a vote taken and voters said, I'm going to raise my property tax to do that thing.
Yeah.
And so, and in fact, maybe that's the only example that's out there. But and if that's true, then that's fine. But to me, there's a difference in approach that may or may not have a bearing on our conversation. So
Understandable, and because we probably have to look at a few different situations on that. One is the GO bond situation, but also those who you may already have a debt levy in place, and if you want to reappropriate or utilize that debt levy continuously. So we'll look at those. Yeah, renewals, yeah.
Thank you very much for including that, because I'd forgotten about that. I appreciate you mentioning it. I think we have one more citizen who'd like to make some comment before we close down the discussion. Please approach the podium. And by the way, before you start, it was his fault, whatever the problem is.
I agree, no. Marcus Smith, longtime Clay County resident. Heard a lot tonight. A lot of good information, a lot of discussion. Ownership, which is very important. Integrity is everything, especially when you're in a leadership role. However, when I was a police officer, we had things that are called T-dates. And those dates needed to be made, and you had to answer up to what happens. Are we accomplishing things, or are we still messing up? And those T-dates weren't put out months away. You were given like 3 weeks, come back with an answer. We can discuss. We've been doing this from 2023, right? So it's 2 years now. We've had a lot of discussion. And I'm not saying the discussion needs to end, but we need to find some dates and start applying them. And I'm not saying people aren't working hard, but if you want the county citizens to know what's going on and feel confident in their commission, then that's something that you should start trying to achieve and say, we're going to have an answer on this date, good or bad, letting them know. And I know we can email back and forth, but let these taxing jurisdictions know so we're all up to date and we can work as a team together. And that's all I have.
Thank you very much for your comments. One more call. Are there any other citizens wishing to comment before we close the discussion? Very good. This discussion is closed. With that, and by the way, even though we've closed this discussion down, any of you here are more than welcome to stay and listen to the rest of the meeting. And as I said before, don't be strangers here. Please come by and listen to us as what we are saying, and more importantly, participate by commenting and interacting with us. Commissioner Withington, I'm sorry, did you have something before we left that?
So I know you closed down the discussion.
Well, we can reopen it. Go ahead, please.
No, I don't have a discussion. I need to take off, but I just want to say one thing that I was going to say in commissioner comments before I leave, just real quick. Kearney Bulldogs play state championship this weekend. Go Bulldogs.
Thank you for the update, Commissioner. With that, we will take back up with our agenda where we left off, and that will bring us to consent agenda items. Before we do that, it's getting a bit late. Is everybody okay with us just continuing on through and getting this thing done, or do you want to take a break? All right. Yeah, I agree. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to just make it my deal. Please continue with the consent agenda, Mr. Administrator.
Yes, consent agenda night. Yeah, we have items on the consent agenda. First one is commission meeting minutes from October 9th, October 16th, October 23rd, November 6th, November 13th, and November 20th. Next item is approval as 2025-348, approval invoice payments from Clay County from the period November 15th to the period of November 26th. 585 invoices totaling $1,639,532.30, I'm sorry. The next one is 2025-350, Clay County designee for alternate for our boards and commissions. This one is for our Road and Bridge Director. We have an alternate requirement, and that will be our Deputy Director, Corey Alford, would be the alternate regarding that one. That's for MARC committees. Your next one you have is the Capital Improvement 2025-351, approval of capital improvement project encumbrance request, purchase and ditching equipment with our Road and Bridge Department, $663,500 piece of equipment. Your next one is the 2025-353, approval of RFP 449-25, professional services With our auditor department, that's our outside auditor, and an amount of $89,600. 2025-354, approval of $50,000 contribution to Northland Workforce Development Center. That's the one that we had earlier this summer. We're going to go ahead and do it now. The next one is 2025-355, approval of capital project encumbrance request for the purchase of a fleet truck, Next Trend Truck Centers with the road and bridge, and the amount of $25,110. Next one is 2025-356, approval of IFB number 115-25, K&M Services and Schaefer Landscape for firewood. It's a parks request item. The next two items are transfer of funds to cover shortfall of water and sewer fund with Parks Department, 2025-357, and then 2025-358, shortfall of golf course water line fund for the Parks Department. And that would be it for our consent agenda.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
Motion been made for the approval of this evening's consent agenda. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Carpenter? Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Next, we begin our regular agenda. There are two items on that regular agenda. The first one is 2025-349. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-349, approval of invoice payments for Clay County Prosecutor's Office for November 15th to November 26th. We have 21 invoices totaling $77,196.16.
Commissioner Johnson.
Move to approve 2025-349.
The motion is made for the approval of 2025-349. Discussion. Seeing none, you are recognized to close.
I close.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Lawson? Yes. Commissioner Wagner? Commissioner Thompson? Commissioner Carpenter?
Yes.
Motion passes 4 in favor, 1 recusal.
That brings us to the second and final issue under regular agenda. That is 2025-352. Mr. Administrator.
Yes, 2025-352 is request of waiver fees, interest penalties, and taxes due to county error. We have Administrative Director Deetta Jacobs who will speak more to this item.
I'm afraid calling you Commissioner may well be a demotion. I apologize for that.
It's been a long night. Deetta Jacobs, Administrative Services Director. Ms. Driscoll indicated that she had to leave, so she asked that we put this on another night. I gave her the opportunity for either the 11th or the 18th. She needed to check her schedule, and she said she would reach back out to county staff. So we'd like to remove that and do it another time at her convenience, if that's okay.
Certainly, we're always wanting to make sure we take the citizens' needs into effect. So we can just go ahead and make that change without a vote of the commission? Yeah. Very well, Mr. Administrator, if you would take care of that with Deetta, and then let us know when that citizen will be able to be here for her to make her own case.
Will do.
That brings us to the end of our regular agenda. That brings us to our second discussion item. If you would please proceed with that.
Well, 1 second. Let me get the correct slide on here. This is the one we need, and they do not have that one up there.
It is.
No, they put
My
the
technical
wrong,
skills are just
she
not.
put the wrong one on there.
Okay. presentations?
No.
Boards and commissions, is this it? Is that it?
No, let me see.
Okay.
No, that's not it.
I don't know where it might be.
Yeah, one second. One second. There it goes. There you go. All right. Guess we got a slight break anyway. So one of the items you asked just before the holiday, I think it was Commissioner Wagner, to look at all the seats that have require a commissioner, and also designate which ones that require the presiding commissioner. And so what we did here was go through all the different boards and commissions. A majority of them are, see quite a few of those are through Mark, but let's kind of start at the top here. Board of Zoning Adjustment, you have 3 commissioners currently serving on that board there. Your next one is Building Commission. Right now, you do not have a person serving that position, but that's one we'll have to fill. The next one is Clay County EDC. They did vote today. Right now, it's 3 commissioners, but they have a change they voted on today at their meeting. That would still include 3, but there'll be 1 voting member, us as a member of Clay County EDC. So I'll have to provide that information. They gave it to us a little later, right when I'm at the meeting. So we'll have to send that out to you as for what that looks like going forward.
By the way, that voting membership is part of our membership in the EDC, so those are connected.
Yes. Yeah. The next one is your TIF Commission. Commissioner Nolte is currently your commissioner on that one. Liberty Economic Development Sales Tax Board, Commissioner Thompson. Megan Thompson is your main. There you have an alternate of Commissioner Nolte. Your next one is your Mark Board of Directors. That one, Commissioner Nolte. Then you have 2 alternates. That one is along with your Transportation Policy one. Those are both Mark boards. Mark is looking at some changes with their boards in the near future. They're going through a voting right now regarding that one. One thing I do want to stress strongly on Mark is that as we go for the grant projects going forward, they do require representation and they do take notes of attendance. So if you're alternate on that one, it is. If the other one cannot make it, the alternate has got to make it for us. Because you can easily, I've seen it in my previous employer, we literally missed the opportunity to vote on our own projects by 2 absences. And that was, so they still represent that one. Your next one is Destination Safe, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Lawson. are our representatives there. The other one's public safety. And I'd be remiss also to mention that we try to put expiration dates, but most of them are not listed in some of those items, so we try to note that as well. Your next one is your by-state commission. That typically is not utilized unless necessary. There are many items there that we have on the MARC board that's by state, but there are some that are there represented on that one as well. Your MARC Solid Waste Management Council is Commissioner Nolte as well. The other one is the Mid-America Hazmat and Emergency Preparedness Alliance, Commissioner Nolte and Commissioner Withington. Your next one is STP Priorities Committee. Commissioner Withington is on that one. That one is something I've spoken to him about before. That goes back to the STP one. We really believe that could be either a commissioner, elected official, or it could be a employee. So we're working on that with Mark, because we do have employees that could contend that. That would be Road and Bridge, both for Dagan Hart, and if not, Corey would be his backup regarding that one. The other one is the Sustainable Places Policy Committee and your Midwest Small Business. So those are both Commissioner Wagner. Your MU Extension, Commissioner Carpenter, and Commissioner Lawson. And the other one is your NKC Tax Increment, which is another TIF commission. Commissioner Carpenter, Commissioner Nolte is the alternative. And here you have your County Planning Commission. P&Z is required to have your presiding commissioner on that one, so Commissioner Nolte is on that one. Smithville Tax Increment Financing Committee is also required to have the presiding commissioner, so both of those, Commissioner Nolte. Your next one is the Workforce Investment Boards, Commissioner Carpenter, with Nolte as his alternate, and your Zoological District Board is Commissioner Johnson. So that lines out those that require elected commissioners on those commissions and boards. As you well know, we got quite a bit more boards outside of those, but those are the ones that require that one. So I will send this list out to all of you all, so you'll be aware of it. And then from there, we'll have to look at the other positions that might require, or you might have to look at as a commission on who you want to represent yourselves on those different boards and commissions.
I'm sorry, were you ready for questions? Something that I would like to see us included on this is the regularity of the meetings, when they meet, because there's some of these commissions meet quite regularly, monthly at a minimum. Others meet as needed. So I think it might help for commissioners as they investigate whether or not they want to be a part of this, if they clearly understand the time commitment involved. I think that would be something that would be a very good thing. I like the idea of having, when possible, elected and staff to show that when staff goes before a board or commission, that they're seeing both sides of the House represented. That is to say, staff, and they are seeing the electeds, because I think we need to. I think it's helpful for us to provide that united front. And I would like to. I don't want to leave every commission I'm on, and clearly I'm not supposed to. But my participation kind of reflects something that has been held over since we had a three-person commission, and that is there was only so deep a bench. We have a deeper bench. I would ask other commissioners to certainly consider that, and I think part of the consideration has to be the time commitment, not only the duration, but the time of day of that commitment, because most of these are going to be set by the organization, not by ourselves. Something else that I would, and I'll go ahead and put this out there, is on the Total Transportation Policy Committee, those rules, I don't know if they're quite solidified yet, but they were in flux because of a reorganizational effort going forward. But I think that's one that we may want to deal with sooner than later, because both Commissioner Thompson and I serve as representative and alternate, and we're coming up, we have conflicts, we both have conflicts on some dates coming up, so if we could expedite that one way or another, I think we would both appreciate that, because of commitments that are not, that go beyond our immediate control to to regulate. So I would like to see if we could expedite that particular one, just to make sure that we don't skip a beat. The other thing is that as commissioners consider, yeah, we're kind of off. We timed out. As commissioners contemplate where they would like to serve, some of these boards and commissions, especially the marked ones, funding can be contingent on percentage of participation. So if we miss too many meetings, that could result in a non-qualification for funds that we might otherwise be able to access. So I would ask that commissioners, as they look at this list, please think in terms of that, as well as far as the necessity that they are able to attend and participate.
Okay.
Commissioner Lawson?
One thing I wondered, when we had a discussion a couple weeks, 3 weeks ago, I thought that the agreement was, by looking at a statute, that on the planning and zoning, it did not have to be the presiding, that things had changed and it was, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so that one can be. The other thing was, today in our luncheon, they had voted, the board of directors, I guess, voted, well, we all voted, frankly, that we did now have the ability to name whoever we wished to the EDC.
Yeah, actually, when you're talking about the 3 members on the general board,
No.
you mean as far as the representative?
Yeah.
The thing is, as it stands, if I understand correctly, I'm certainly open to being corrected if I have the wrong end of the stick on this thing, that we would have 3 ex officio non-voting members. However, because we have a certain level of membership, that means that of those up to 3 members, one of them can be a voting member, which I thought was important.
Yes.
Because when we, and I went through some of the rules changes, one of the things that I thought was important was that the county commission be treated like any other business entity, and therefore, if the county chooses to join as a member, we should also derive the benefit of a voting member. And if we choose not to, then it would revert back to the others. So we would have that voting member by virtue of the fact of our membership and participation in. The other thing, and it's not really to do with this list necessarily, but it was something that I was certainly supportive of in the rules change, and that was the deletion of the presiding commissioner from the executive board. I thought that was important for a couple of different reasons. The first and foremost, this is a business group, and I think it's important that the perception be that it is indeed run by businesses, and that government, while having a role, has a distinctly secondary role. Also, I realize that there have been some concerns, and I thought by taking that presiding commissioner position out of that, it might make the ability for us to interact with the EDC more simplified, more easy. So I was very happy actually to step aside and say, let's put a business entity in there in that executive level position.
So let me understand this. As long, right now we're members, correct?
Yes, and I think
we're a diamond member.
And I think we're in the budget for that as well, coming forward.
Yes,
Yes,
the $5,000 membership.
No, wait a minute. We're right now we're a diamond member.
I believe so. Yes.
And we don't expire till what? January, February?
Is end of the year when
End
the
of this month. End of this month. you
End of
expire.
this month. Okay.
Yeah.
So right, as I understood it,
Well, maybe,
We would
well, I
have
take that
the-
back. It says, I'm sorry, expiration does
I'm
says
sorry.
12/31/2026. But I'm not sure what that means regarding your current, the current bylaws, so I'm not sure.
Please check on that, because that may well be, we may well have got some information that was in error. My understanding
My
was
understanding was at the end of this year.
that was my understanding as well, so perhaps there's been a typo. It happens. Yeah,
okay,
please.
so anyway, let me make, I didn't want to misspeak. What I understood then to say that we had the ability right now to, if we wanted to name whoever we wish as the person that sits on that executive board.
No,
and
on the general, voting member of the regular board.
On the regular board.
On the larger board, not the smaller executive board, but the board, what the board meeting was about today, which was the larger board. So,
What the three of us are.
yes, thank
Pardon?
you, that's good.
What the three of us already are.
Yeah, but no, I thought they also said we had the right to name who we wished on the exec. You're saying that if we choose to join next year, then we can name who we wish on the exec?
No.
Or we just still have okay,
Well,
that's good.
The county does not have a specified person on that board.
That we
It could
what?
still happen, but,
Can I make a comment?
oh, I'm sorry, please.
Let me finish.
Well, okay, well, and
So,
Go ahead. Go
what
ahead.
I think happened is they made a bylaw change recently, a couple months ago, where we had three of us on the board and one on the executive board. They said the three of us on the board can no longer have a vote. And the executive board, the presiding commissioner is no longer an executive board. Instead, the chairman of the board has the liberty to select whoever he wants to fill a position. So the problem is we have this diamond membership, and they've taken all of our votes away, which they shouldn't have done. So what it sounds like they're doing now is they're allowing us to have one vote because they want our membership. You have to pay that membership to get the vote.
But that's all we did.
Yeah, and it's not on the executive board. It's just general membership like the three of us are,
Yes.
but only one of them gets the vote.
I believe you have that correct. Does-
And then,
Yeah.
so one of the things that I had asked a couple of weeks ago was that I really wanted to be on the planning and zoning board. I still have that desire, what do I need to do to be appointed to that board?
Like every other board and commission, just first step would be to put together an application, to go online and okay. In that case, yeah, we just haven't gotten to that. We're still filling boards and commission seats, but I'm sorry. Well, first off, Scott, are you okay waiting for a bit more?
I've waited, it's 9 o'clock, I can wait some more.
Okay. I didn't mean to skip over him, but I did. It seemed like these conversations were together. Go ahead.
So the planning and zoning board, just to refresh everyone's memory, we went through this discussion before, and I think the idea was you decided, hey, you've been on enough board, you'd step down from the planning and zoning board, and we were going to put her on there. We just had to officially do it. I think that we haven't done that yet, if I'm not.
I didn't step down. I think there's some question about that, but no, I didn't step down, but on the other hand, you're correct. When I haven't been in there all that long, it's pretty much since the adoption of the charter.
Okay. So
Because that changed, and it is before your time.
Yeah,
But
this-
the acceptance of the charter, being a charter county, is what triggered the change on both the Board of Zoning Adjustment, and it also affected the Planning and Zoning Board. So those changes that we are under at this moment were triggered by the adoption of our Constitution. Prior to that, I don't believe there was a commissioner on planning and zoning.
Wait, am I confusing this? Didn't we have a discussion about this? And we kind of came to the conclusion that she would be replacing you on that, on planning and zoning. It was planning and zoning board, right? Did we talk about
Yeah,
that?
they're kind of similar. I don't recall saying I would step down, but we need to figure this out, certainly.
I'm not aware of that one, but if you had that discussion, that's fine. Planning and zoning is the one that meets the most. You have the planning commission, the building commission, and the planning and zoning, but that one is the one that meets the most often. And I believe we did have one person step down recently,
right?
Due to just not able to.
I think where we might be off kilter on this is. And I'm glad to be able to explain a little bit. We had the resignation of a citizen member, and we, Commissioner Lawson expressed interest in that seat, and we had another applicant as well. The thought process that I went through on this was that when you have designated seats for commissioners, that takes the other board seats kind of off the table.
Yeah.
So we don't want to have two commissioners when we are designated as one.
Right.
So those conversations were probably happening contemporaneously, and there may have been some
Yeah.
wires crossed.
No, we had that whole, and I agree with that. I didn't want to put an elected on the board when it's a
Right.
citizen's position. But we have a commissioner position on that board.
We
And we were under the
do.
impression that it was the presiding commissioner, but then we realized it's not
Mm-hmm.
for the presiding commissioner. And after a long discussion, I thought it was an agreement that, hey, you would let her replace you on that board. I thought, we'd go back and check the tape, that's easy to do. But I thought that was a full conversation we had settled several weeks ago. Are you guys not remembering any of this? Yeah.
I remember the conversation, I don't remember the conclusion.
Yeah, I thought that was a done deal.
But what I did, but what I do remember having
Yeah.
said was, not to make it a personal issue, but I was exhausted at the end of 2024 for a number of reasons I think we're all aware of, not the least of which was I am on more commissions than I really want to be on.
Right.
Now, we can talk about which ones specifically, but I would like to see a greater participation, maybe put it this way, a broader participation on our boards and commissions. That is what I've been saying. The other thing is, as we go forward on this, and as commissioners perhaps express interest in, say, an alternate position as opposed to a primary position, it would, I think, be constructive if the alternates could, and I gave the example of Commissioner Thompson, who was participating in some of the TTPC meetings. I think that's a very positive thing, because then when Commissioner Thompson stepped in for me when I was unable to attend a meeting, she was up to speed, and I would like to see the alternates also, not at the same level as the primary representative, but I would like to see more participation by alternates. So that's no rule, that's no anything else. That's just, I would urge that to be the case, because I think it gives us a stronger hand going forward. Commissioner Wagner, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and recognize you. You've been extremely patient.
Yeah, what was I going to say? No, I know what it was. Just a couple things. One of the results of our discussion last time was this very discussion and this table that's before us. So thank you, Damon, for bringing it forward. I would note a couple of things. One is, and I realize it's because of what we asked for, but what I would note is that there's a couple of places where I believe staff are already, or not, non-commissioners are already in. So for example, the MARC Board of Directors, the other main person that represents Clay County is Mr. Hurlbert. So that's why you have two alternates, but only the presiding commissioner mentioned. I'd also note that on, I believe it was on STP, I had been the main person, but I gave that up so that Mr. Degenhart could replace me and be the main person there. So I just want to point out in at least a couple of cases where we have county representation, they are not necessarily commissioners in those spots. And to that point, there may be other opportunities to the other comment about non-commissioners who can still represent the county and do so well. And then the only other thing that I see is under Board of Zoning Adjustment where it says expiration date, if any. I have one, but I won't go into that due to the late hour, but that was for you, Mr. Administrator. But the main, well, I know my date. I don't know about yours, but at any rate, the main point was the other representatives from the county, if there is a desire to get other non-commissioners where it makes sense into some of these positions.
Yes, I agree. And the same thing regarding your alternates. We can look at those.
And then the other thing is, I sent some, the listing as far as I knew it, and whenever I was under the impression that there was a presiding commissioner required, I tried to cite bylaws. Unfortunately, finding the bylaws for some of these MARC boards and commissions is not necessarily an easy task. So I did a cursory search. I don't believe the County Planning Commission, P&Z, is presiding or not. I mean, to tell you the truth, at this point, I'm a little confused. I thought it was not. I thought it was because I was, that was, in fact, that was on our website. But I don't have, I can't recite statute that I'm required to be on that.
Kevin can give me more information on that. We just went out based what we have in our files, so this is also another opportunity to correct anything we may have as we keep those lists going up. We try to keep all those lists updated, so if there's something here that could be changed, we have no problem with changing those.
The other thing that I would point out as a possible, something to, I hate to use the word correct, but something that might need verification is on the TIF commissions, that, again, by virtue of the county charter that we adopted, the Constitution, we are in a different category. And on all the TIF commissions, it is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Counselor, but it is the appointment by the presiding commissioner without necessarily the advice. Well, I certainly want the advice, but without a vote of the county commission, if I'm understanding that correctly.
I know we get more seats because of that. I think you're right, and it's been a little while since I looked at chapter, I think it's 99 on that. But I will, if there's some question about that, I'm happy to look at that.
Now, I'm not sure I necessarily, whether I agree or disagree with it is rather irrelevant. It is, if that, and that was statute written for St. Louis County or somebody like that.
Yeah, because
the criteria to achieve that particular, to satisfy that statute were first-class charter county with a population in excess of 250,000, which, to tell you the truth, I was a little surprised as we went through this, and that's part of the process of becoming a charter county, is we're going to run into these anomalies within the law that are peculiar to charter counties. So that was not the first, and I doubt it will be the last. So we just need to be a little bit more aware of our status as a first-class charter county and how that nuances the position we have under statute. Commissioner Lawson, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ramble on like that.
All right, I'm going to say this as plainly as I can say it. I want on the Planning and Zoning Board, and I will tell you why. I've lived in this county forever and have most of the time lived in a rural area, or the unincorporated area. One of the things it talks about when I look at the board description, it talks about the fact that the people that they want on there are people who live in the unincorporated area. Now, I don't ask for a whole hell of a lot on this board. Don't make a lot of demands. I know I can be obnoxious, and I'm sorry about that, but that's me. I want on that darn board. And I know that you sit on a very large number of boards, Jerry. I don't feel that it's out of line for someone from the unincorporated area, someone that has asked politely and nicely if they can get on that board. I understood why we didn't do it the last time, because it was definitely replacing a seat where a citizen sat, and then we were replacing with another very qualified citizen. So no problems there. But I would like to be put on that board, and I'm not saying get off, I want on it. I just feel like I'm ultimately qualified to be there. One board out of the 105 you sit on, I very much want to be on that.
Bring the
that was
back up.
an exaggeration, a gross exaggeration.
I know you were
But
exaggerating to make a point.
I would
Yeah, I
like
get
very
it.
much to be on that board. So that's my ask. Whatever it takes.
By the way, for context, I guess, my understanding, and Kip would know better, but I don't believe that body meets in December. I believe their next meeting will be in January.
What?
I believe the next meeting of that body will be in January, not in December, if I understand correctly.
Well, I think they had a meeting last Tuesday. They had a meeting Tuesday.
Oh, yeah, that was still, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about December, yeah.
You're right. You're right.
So, Any other observations about the boards or commissions? Like I said, I would urge everybody to look at that list, and I would like to see it spread out a little bit more evenly. And when it comes to TTPC, it would be my request that we would act with some expediency. Do you agree, Megan, you're good with that?
I'm very okay with that.
Okay. A Total Transportation Committee. We're coming up on some meetings, and there are some where both Megan and I are conflicted and not able to attend, so I wanted to see if we could get someone in a little more quickly to make sure we do not break the chain of attendance.
I would agree if anyone wants to volunteer as a commissioner to be on that, to be the alternate, because that one does require you to have an alternate as a commissioner.
And my
Because we already
understanding,
have 2 staff members on that one, so we'll need an alternate there.
my understanding is, and maybe the bylaws speak to this, my understanding is those marked boards require a vote of the commission. I don't know, you might check and see if there's some provision to where if someone wants to be appointed, that they could do that that way at least we keep the attendance record going as we need to.
So what date will we like to set? Do you want to make it the 18th? By that time, we could have the alternate and then put it on the agenda?
Well, the 16th is the next meeting when we are both indisposed.
Okay. So we can do it next week. Whoever desires to be the alternate, we can have it on the agenda next week to be voted.
Let's see if there's because I didn't look at the bylaws because I'm not sure they've been generated, but we might reach out to Mark and see if it is possible for us to do what might be called an interim appointment for one meeting. That way, because TTPC is one of those boards that attendance is important when it comes to acquiring funding, and I think transportation is certainly one of our major responsibilities. So even if we have someone step in just for that meeting, if we can make that kosher with Mark board or the Mark organization, that way we can keep our attendance at the level that we would need it to be. So I don't know if there's that possibility, but I'm just throwing it out.
I would tell you, Mark is pretty strict regarding those requirements. And if it's a requirement that requires us to vote, I see no problem us moving forward and having it on a consent agenda as far as what commissioner would like to step in that place. And then we can just have it next week as an item, and then we could provide that to Mark that Friday so they can update their roles, that who will be the representation. Because when they take roll is where we have the issue. And if they don't have some type of written verification from myself or from you guys as a commission, they will move on.
Is there, because we're all here, with the exception of Jason, of course, is it okay do we have a consensus with the commission that if someone steps forward and wants to assume that at least for the December meeting, that's okay, and then any further service would be contingent on a commission vote? Is that acceptable to everybody, just to keep just if if Scott, because he's not doing anything, if Scott raises his hand and said, by golly, TTPC is my cup of tea, that he be able to serve in the December meeting when both Megan and I not have the ability to be there, that we could just, whoever wants to step in would do it, and if we can square it with Mark, that way we keep our voting seat active, and then in January, go ahead and either ratify that person or take whoever is interested. And then deal with it from there so that we've got, I don't know that there's any votes coming up.
I will look tonight to see with the resolutions that you had before, to see if that was a requirement.
Yeah.
I know your practice has been to do a resolution. I'm not sure that's a requirement by Mark, or is that just a procedure that you should take as a commission here? But if it's not, if you can just provide me the name, then I can share that with Mark. And then we go from there. But I'll verify that.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the end of the world if we have one meeting where one of our members doesn't show up, but it's an important board, and I want to make sure that we are represented if we can move it at all. Excuse me,
I agree, and I will say this: the attendance is annual, so it's January through December. So the end of the year one, but this one here, I believe, is the one that's regarding the voting on the committee assignments. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch everything.
Is this the meeting that's coming up on the 16th? Is this the one requiring the vote regarding the upcoming committee changes?
No,
Okay.
we've been through that process, and I think we both ended up voting on it at one time or another. You voted on it when I couldn't be there, and I voted on it when I was there. So, no, that is not, but what I'm saying is, I don't know that there is anything impactful or not coming up, but I hate to take the chance on something impactful having transpiring, and we're not there to cast our vote.
Sounds good to me. Well, I will verify if it's required a resolution or not.
Thank you. And I'm sorry to kind of put that on you. It's kind of a one-off, but there we are. And yes, go ahead. Well, we are nowhere yet. I mean, I have not made a nomination. One of the things I'm required to do is to consult with Damon.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, it is the Constitution.
I already put my name in. I filled out the application. Did you sit with Damon when you nominated Larry?
Yes.
Well, and I think Jay talked to Damon and said, I want it on the board. And what happened? And one of the executive sessions. If you're not going to step down, have the guts to say, Joanna, I'm not going to step down, honey, and you can't have it. Just say it. That's fine. I'll live with it. But I asked to be on that board. What's the big deal? I don't get it. If you sat on one board and I took it away from you, no problem. But I want on that board. I've asked for it. I don't know what more I have to do. Cut my wrists? I don't know.
Any further discussion on the boards and commissions? Oh, I'm sorry, Jay, I didn't see you highlight it.
Yeah, so I know without a doubt, we went round and round about the same issue, planning and zoning, several weeks ago. I will pull up that video and send it out because I think it was done. I think we all had made an agreement on that. So I'll pull that up to see where we were with that and send it out to everybody because there was no doubt on my mind that you had said that you'd had been on enough boards, you're fine with letting her take your spot on that board instead of putting her in a citizen's position. But I'll pull that up because I think we went round and round about this before, and we probably don't want to do it now at 9:30 at night, so
yeah,
we'll get it.
Yeah, and that's what I'm thinking. If I remember something incorrectly, I remember it incorrectly. Nobody's perfect. But I don't recall that. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, and God knows I'll be wrong again at some point. Great. Okay, so we will look at what you send us out on the list and what the response is. Brings us to reports, I believe.
No reports.
Well, we got the auditor's cash report, which has been distributed.
I'm sorry. Auditor's report, cash basis monthly report. It's in your files for further review.
There, that's all we needed. Administrator comments.
No comments tonight. I will not be present next meeting. I will be celebrating my wife's retirement. I want to wish her a special retirement. She's had to deal with me for 26 years. She's also been working for 26 years. So she is a special woman when it comes to that. The other one is Donna Kuntz will be in my place next week, and I will be around though. So.
Okay. Commissioner comments, and brief, please. Commissioner Lawson. Comments? Commissioner comments.
Just say no.
As a matter of fact.
Way to go, Jay.
Come on. Because I want to hear it.
You want to hear this.
I want to hear this.
You want to hear this. So if you all remember several weeks ago when we were talking about opening the Lurk, Commissioner Johnson said to me, oh, well, Commissioner Lawson, we'll just have a shoot-off and when we get, this is opening up. I said, okay, I'm up for that. So I get to the Lurk, Cool Breeze is standing there, and I said, no, hey, don't forget, we're going to have a shoot-off. And he's stammering and stuttering around, And then all of a sudden the sheriff comes up and he says that we can't, and I appreciate this. He said, we really can't do it today because they had people walking through and, you know, something bad, somebody gets shot or something, I don't know. But anyway.
That would be bad.
So we didn't get to do our shoot-off. So in front of God and everybody, Commissioner Johnson, Chief Johnson, when can we have this shoot-off? Because I'm armed and ready.
I'm ready right now.
Oh.
We'll play at 10 o'clock.
Give me a date.
We'll do it.
Okay, everybody.
Everybody's too tired to even talk about it. Look at a calendar right now.
Do what?
I said everybody's too tired to even look at a calendar right now, but I guarantee I'll do it.
Okay. All right. You all heard him, right? Okay. All right. And how soon? I mean, are we talking 3 years from now? Are we talking about
After
in a
we get
week?
some sleep tonight.
What?
After we get some sleep tonight.
Okay. All right. All right. Give me a time.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Wagner.
Thank you. I wasn't going to say anything because I've heard a lot and I've learned a lot this evening, but I'm now puzzled by one thing. And cool breeze, I've not heard that reference to the Commissioner Johnson before, so I look forward to learning what that's about so I can use that in the future. So that's all I got.
Commissioner Johnson, since you seem to be under attack, do you have any comments?
No comments on that. We had a zoo district meeting today, but I'll brief everybody next week on what we did.
Commissioner Thompson, Commissioner Carpenter. I'm going to make this very, very brief, I hope. Went to the MARC retreat. A lot of things were talked about. I'm not going to go through it right now, but certainly any commissioner who would like to hear about it. There were a lot of subjects. Property taxes were one of them. More of the general subject, not what was discussed tonight. Data centers, all those sorts of things. So there were really, there was some good information I think that was imparted. Also, we got notification about the Adult Drug Treatment Court. The graduation is not until January 23rd. Once again, as always, I would urge all commissioners who have the ability to attend to attend. I was just signing the certificates. There are a goodly number. I think it's a very positive program and one that I think we should be very proud that we have in this county. With that, we are adjourned.